Hello, Lund loyalists. John Lund unleashed YouTubers, those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple or Spotify. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on your alerts so you never miss a show. And for all things Unleashed, go to johnlundunleashed.com. Live shows, archives, the blog, social media, links, and more. Now likely nursing a hangover. Unshaven, unshowered, and a 50-50 chance of his teeth being brushed. Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny.
Oh, yes. Thanks for joining us. It is 100% that I brush my teeth. You got to brush your teeth every single day. What are you, insane? Look at the type of Giants had them today. Looks weird. Because Susan Susser just sent a tweet out, so I'm gonna try to be maybe optimistic a little bit. Let's go. Let's do this. Episode 60. I might have written episode 60 yesterday because I was in this big time hurry that I have to explain because I don't want to be running out on everybody. But we got the chalkboard to the right as always. The lettering's a little small today. I need to be better with that. But we got a ton to get to, as you can see, a very long list of things today. It is tremendous to see everybody. I'll do a roll call in just 1 second, but it is episode 60, so all Brock talk all the time. Rich Eisen started it, this thing that I guess I have to explain about Las Vegas odds and how often they don't get it right. They get it right on everything when it has to do with money, but in terms of these things that have been fun because it gets tons of clicks, I guess we have to explain this too, so we become smarter. Rich Eisen talked a lot about Brock today. That's just what it's going to be in the offseason. I'll explain that. And I'm not down on the 49ers. I get into this a little yesterday, but we were in such a rush. We didn't get to enough of it. So I want to discuss that because I was on with Krug on Monday night. Today's Wednesday, right? On Monday night. And we had a great debate about what the direction of the Niners is. It sure sounds like to me that Travis Kelsey is going to retire, but we shall see. They're 2-0, the Warriors, with Jimmy Butler. And a lot of times in sports, it's about when you get a team. So when we played that fun schedule game, especially with like the Niners, I mean, win-loss, win-loss, win-win, win-loss, loss-loss, win-loss. You just don't know what a team's going to be like and who's going to be injured and what's going on. So tonight, and I'll show you a video of the principal owner now of the Mavericks trying to walk to his seat and just getting booed the hell. And I told you right when this deal happened, it wasn't just a national thing, it was a Mavs thing because you just can't fight football in the state of Texas. And Luka and Dirk, and they've had those guys, and so they become mildly relevant, but not without those guys. And people in Dallas are so pissed. But I could have told them that, and Mark Cuban could have certainly told them that, but he did not. So it's good timing to play the Mavericks because not only that, Anthony Davis is out for a while, and they play them a couple of times in the next 5 games, and he's going to miss both those. So we'll get into that. ST Day 1 is why I have this hat on right now. Susan Slusser sent something out, and I'll explain that in just a second. If the Giants really wanted to win, Alex Bregman would be coming in here on a short-term contract. I will explain that one as well. Lots of random things like dog shows, hacked emails, a link. Remind me, because link story, I knew right when I wrote that I was probably going to forget. It's Lincoln Kennedy's birthday, and I have a great Lincoln Kennedy story. And sales guy, which is me now, which is one of the reasons I had to leave yesterday. So anyway, because I'm wearing all the hats around here, not just this hat, literally. But we will explain all those things. So thank you. A very busy list. We'll try to get to everything. Just real quickly, why I'm wearing this hat before we get to roll call. I'm not going to say this stunned me today, but it just kind of snuck up on me. Everybody's busy, and the Super Bowl just finished, and all these different things. And, the NFL just does such an amazing job of staying in the spotlight. So there's still that, even though the Niners season's been over for a long time. And Jimmy Butler trade and Warriors drama that's always happening. And then there's tons of national sports stories. And then we like to go on tangents all over the place. So, the plate is pretty full. And then all of a sudden this comes up this morning. And so it begins. And I'm like, oh my God, really? Because I'm going to go down to Scottsdale in a couple of weeks, not only because my kid lives there, but that's where by the way, I told this story on Krug's show yesterday. So obviously that's Scottsdale Stadium. And that's the view from the press box. So I've told this story before, but I might as well start the show with a story real quick before we do roll call, which is when I was working with Tolbert in afternoons on KNBR, this is maybe 2017. First of all, I walk into the studio because Tom never wanted to go to spring training or anything, but I love doing it. So I walk in, and in fact, I have a picture of this. I'll bring it. I'll bring it onto the show. And the radio booth they give me to do my show from, it says John Tolbert. That's what it said. It said John Tolbert on the San Francisco Giants welcome John Tolbert. And I'm like, really? And so there's that. And then we got kicked out of the booth a couple times because one time the Dodgers TV crew came in, and I didn't know they were even coming in. So I had all this expensive radio gear that the station gives you, and it's crumpled in this corner. I'm like, what the hell's going on? They're like, yeah, Dodgers TV is in here tonight. And it's like, yeah, the heads up would have been cool. So I literally did a show from like the guy in the office. I did it from like a control room or something that people were running in and out of. It was as tiny as a closet. And I'm here I'm doing PM drive in the fourth largest market in the country from this thing, like trying to hold everything together. It was unbelievable. There's that whole thing. And then, but the best story about it was, if you look dead center field right there where the batter's eye is, you go back there and you have to go through a couple of things, and you have to open this panel, and there's a big red like bat button in there. And that's what lets you out of the stadium late, because I was doing the show. The Giants were on the road. Scottsdale time was like an hour ahead. So we did 3 to 7. So it was like 8 o'clock at night. Well, no one's in the stadium, nobody, and it's spring training. And the Giants were on the road. And so I wrap up the show. I'm literally the only person in the stadium from the very view that she's looking from right now. And I was doing the show there for a week. It might have been like a Wednesday or something. So I didn't pack up all the gear. I just grabbed my bag, grabbed my backpack. And I start going out to the stadium, all the places that I normally get out, and everything's locked. Not only locked, but like chained up. And I walked around. I'm supposed to meet my mom for dinner at a steak restaurant right across the street. And she's my dad's passed, so she's got her new boyfriend and stuff. I'm supposed to like impress this guy or something. And so I walk around the whole stadium. I'm not even kidding you, like an hour. I couldn't find, there was no way out. And so they have those like, like a metal or wrought iron type of a things, but they have spears on the top of them. So it's not easy to get out. So I finally, after a while, after checking literally every door in the place, I put this big garbage can. In fact, we get the idea. Well, no, we don't. Hang on. We get the big garbage can, and I throw my backpack over, and then I kind of finagle my way over the thing. But my shirt, which is a nice shirt, gets caught in the fence, rips about halfway down the shirt. But at least I get out of there. And my mom's like, it's a fancy steak joint. She's like, what is wrong with you? So there's that. Letting down mom, being late, ripped shirt, all that kind of stuff. And then the next day, I tell the story on the air, and I'm talking about how I got locked in there, and it's pretty funny. And I was talking about how, they had cases and cases of beer everywhere, and it's in sight. You can walk by, and it's hard to get into the stadium. But I go, God, all you have to do is do what I did, put a big garbage can close to the thing, be much more athletic than I am, jump over the thing. You could have a guy passing you cases of beer for enough for the rest of your life. So I get a text like halfway through the show from someone within the Giants who goes, hey, man, the security is really pissed at you right now. Please stop telling stories of how you'll steal all the beer. And I go, will you tell security? It'd be really nice if I could find a way out of the place at, 8 o'clock at night. And so what ended up happening was, way in center field where that batter's eye is, there's like a secret red button. And they acted like I should know that. Like, oh, all you got to do is go out to center, and then you turn right, turn left, you open that panel. And I'm like, and then, you hit this door, and it's like a garage door opener, in the back of the stadium opens up. And I'm like, how the hell would I know that? So anyway, we're starting with random stories already on the show. Crazy. That's a true story. Got locked in Scottsdale Stadium. Good to see everybody. Skills report is here. Enrique, Steve, Daryl. Let's see. Glass blown pine needle. Very, very nice. Yeah, I'm not a good fence climber. It was bad because you're not supposed to climb any of those fences, and those tips of the wrought iron fences, like a black fence like that, they're sharp, and you're not supposed to be able to get in and out of that place. It's not supposed to be easy. And like I said, here I am with like this ripped shirt, and I had no time. I was probably, because I got stuck in the stadium, I think I probably told her, if my show was over 8 o'clock Arizona time, I probably said like 8:30, and it was like 8:45 before I even got out of the stadium. Ridiculous. Good morning, Joy. I have a couple of questions for Joy and Sports Girl for Life. It's good to see you as well today. 59 is here, but he's really 84. Jacob is here today. What else do we have? Jazz fan Harry Johnson is here today. Good to see you, my friend. I don't mess with those, man. I do have a great. Should I go on one more story? One more story, just because you said that? One more fast story? One more. Just one more, I swear. And then there's going to be 10 more after that. My first wife and I were moving into a house from an apartment, and you got we got movers and stuff like that, and they're doing their thing, and they're trying to move this dresser without taking the drawers out, which you always just take the drawers out, but they're big, strong guys. They know what they're doing. And all of a sudden, one of the guys drops his end, and the top drawer from our dresser goes flying, and about, toys and not children's toys go flying. And my wife, my first wife, was very painfully shy. Was just like mortified. And they're looking at these things on the ground going, we're not picking them up. And I'm like, oh, I will. And so them up, and they're just laughing. My wife went and hid for like an hour and a half. Are they gone yet? Are they gone yet? That's all. Yeah, pitchers and catchers. When Susan said that, like I said, John Holmes, I just was like, wow, there's so much going on, and it's like I just forget. It's good to see Taki Baba Booey is here. Let's see who else. Tons of people in today. Very, very cool. Sorry, I was late. Hurley is here. Mike is here. Scott is here. Very, very cool. I got everything up late today, so I apologize. Jake, it is great to see you. Good morning, everybody. So there you go. Gizmo, hi. All right, really good to see everybody. If I didn't get you, believe me, during the show, I will. But it is great to see everybody today. I'm sorry I'm late on a Wednesday edition of the show, but as you can see, when you do a short show like I did yesterday, because I'm also a sales guy around here, which I'm having a ball doing this, but it's like, before I do a radio show, and it was like, okay, and believe me, we prepare for the shows. It's not like for a 10 o'clock show, I would show up at 9:59. I would actually write a blog every single day with links and the directions we were going. Then Pop and I would blow the hell out of it. But because it wasn't in the studio a lot, I had to figure out a way that we could be on the same page. So I would write out the guests and the time everything was, and then I'd put a bunch of links and suggestions, and I would do a blog post every single day. And then my producer would have it, and Papa would have it, and we'd know when we were on the same page and all this kind of stuff. So it's not like we would walk in there at 9:59 and say, okay, let's go. But with this gig, it's like, okay, you're doing sales, you're doing marketing, you're doing all the pre-show, post-show, and we try to make it fun. We try to have some stuff around here, some videos and pictures and fancy stuff and chalkboards and all that kind of stuff, so that, it's kind of aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So we'll do that as well. By the way, I know a lot of people ask about guests. This is one thing I wanted to address today. And although I don't have somebody today, we will have guests Thursday and Friday this week, and we will step up that part of the game. But anyway, thanks for joining us. I did mention John Lund Unleashed. Make sure, please, that you are subscribed there, that you are getting alerts as well, so you know when we go live or when things like the story of the day breaks. Also, go to johnlundunleashed.com, and everything is there. Archives for the show, the YouTube channel, podcasts, blogs, story of the day. We always update the blog, stories of the day, everything like that, social media clips. So anything John Lund Unleashed is at johnlundunleashed.com. And one last thing, podcast as well, podcast version of the show, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. All right, let's get going today. This is just going to be I guess we just have to accept this. This is going to be off season. And I said it was going to be like this. But because Brock plays the highest profile position in sports, because the 49ers are a pretty high profile team themselves, and because there's such controversy surrounding Brock for some reason about getting him being paid or not being paid. And I guess maybe every market is like this. Maybe, when Miami was going through this with Tua last year, or Jordan Love or anything, but Brock is a lightning rod. And it's funny because he just is such not that way as a person. Like, we talk about Kevin Durant a lot, and he's a lightning rod. Certain guys say certain things and they become lightning rods. He's pretty much, and this is a good thing, and one of the reasons why he'll bounce back, he's pretty much one of the most boring people around, and he's not going to say anything crazy, but everybody around him, this seems to be kind of going crazy, this whole thing about Brock Purdy. So first of all, this was brought on, this conversation I'm about ready to have. So first of all, let's just acknowledge and realize that at the top of the chalkboard today, after episode 60, where it says all Brock talk, this is just going to be all off season. And I don't think it's going to be fast. And I know everybody wants to do that, but his agent is going to have to look at some things and all this. And it's high profile. And for his agent, this is a big deal. It's massive for Brock. It's not bigger for his agent, but his agent, it's a high profile guy, wasn't making a bunch of money. How are you going to do this? How's it going to be structured? All these kind of things. So it's under the spotlight. And so even though the player works for the agent, sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not. At the end of the day, when, say, a Blake Snell, like last off season, he works for Boris, but that Boris was pulling the strings. And finally, Blake Snell said, man, I got to get into camp. Let's go. Like, sometimes they'll put their foot down and say, let's get this done. And I think Brock will do that at some point, maybe if this thing drags on too long. But right now, it's the agent's reputation. It's the players' union saying he's got to get the most money. There's all these it's a tangled web, my friends, that this whole thing weaves. And it's not as simple as Brock saying, yes, let's go. Let's start throwing, and I know what he said at the end of the year at the locker, and I completely understand it, but it's it's wild, and it doesn't just affect him, as weird as that is. So with that as the backdrop, and this is something I've been dying to explain, and we might as well use this with Brock Purdy because it's so high profile. So it says Aaron Rodgers next team. And people take this for gospel for some reason. The reason Vegas does this, and I guess we have to explain gambling as well. Vegas, the goal of gambling in Vegas, in sports gambling in Vegas, is so that they can get 50-50 on something and they're guaranteed to win. That's why they set odds. Odds are set so that it gets action. They're really good at setting those odds. And a lot of times you just sit there and go, God, how does Vegas know this? But what the point of odds is that so that they can get the most action possible, that they can bait you into going, there's no way. And then the other side goes, oh, there's no way. And all of a sudden they're guaranteed to win. And they want as much action as they possibly can get. And that's why they set lines. But these kind of things right here are just clickbait. It's not betting. This is not betting. This is called clickbait. And so what they do is they're not going to put boring teams on there. They're going to put controversial things, all that kind of stuff. And even if they did ever make odds on it, it's such low money because they know they're just messing around. So there's a part of Vegas that's a marketing arm, and they want you to bet. And there's so many places, not California, but so many places you can bet. And so this is just kind of candy is what this is. This is betting candy. And they want you to click on it. And they want me to talk about it. And I fall into the trap, and that's what they want. So Aaron Rodgers, should retire. And I'm going to show you not a rant I went on, but just it's so stupid that they put the 49ers third on this list. The Steelers would make some sense, even though I wouldn't touch the guy because the Steelers are a winning organization, but they may not have a better choice. I don't know that Fields or Wilson isn't, but Rodgers just rotted the Jets from the inside out last year, and he can't move, and he wasn't very good. So I know everybody watched that, but it doesn't mean they can't put out odds candy like this so everyone clicks on it. The Raiders make some sense. We're hearing Darnold. The Niners I'll get into in a second. It's so laughable. The Vikings, it would be total Brett Favre, right? Favre went Vikings, Jets, or did he go Jets, Vikings? I think he did go Jets, Vikings, now that I think about it. And then Rodgers would do the same thing. That would be pretty hilarious. Because they're going to have J.J. McCarthy, and maybe they need a veteran. But could you imagine Aaron Rodgers being some sort of a mentor? There's just no way. Colts is Anthony Richardson, and the Rams, there's talk that Matthew Stafford would not be there in a second. If I'm the Niners and they're talking about Aaron Rodgers to the Rams, yes, please put him on the Rams. Matthew Stafford is so much better. And there's this assumption with Aaron Rodgers because all these old guys are really good. So there's those odds. Niners at plus 350, third overall, and I'll explain that in just a second. So that's betting candy. But Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback versus Stafford, there's certain guys that are aging well that really take care of themselves. Steph Curry, Tom Brady, Stafford's playing a long time. It's more and more because we know what the body's doing and supplements and the way you can treat your body and all sorts of things like that. And you can play for a long time. If you see Aaron Rodgers right now, he kind of looks like Ken Stabler did at the end of his career. He looks a hell of a lot more like Stabler than he does Brady. And his body's just breaking down and he can't move. And he's still got a little arm strength and he can see it, but he can't react to it. He's just not very good anymore. And so will he play? Probably. But man, he put on a show last year with the Jets, and that's saying something. And the number one thing to me is, and I'll put up a list here in just a second after I let you hear from Rich Eisen. The New York Jets don't have a quarterback. Tyrod Taylor signed a one-year deal. They have some third-string guy I never heard of there. They picked 7th in the draft, so they're not really in a position to get one of the top quarterbacks, nor should they. Sam Darnold is the number one free agent out there. He's not going back to the Jets where he said he saw ghosts. He's going, maybe he'll go to the Rams if Stafford leaves. Maybe he'll go to the Raiders. There's been a lot of talk of that. He's a West Coast guy. So, but I tell you this, he's not going to the Jets. He's not going to turn around and go, yay, let me go back to the Jets where I was terrible and hated my life. So that's not happening. So the Jets have no plan whatsoever at quarterback. And they've decided that Aaron Rodgers, that no plan is better than Aaron Rodgers. No plan is better than Aaron Rodgers. And people are like, oh, where's Aaron Rodgers going to go? 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that would have been cool. Now he sucks. I mean, so anyway, just to tell you, that is candy. That's all it is. Click, click, click. And I'm like, oh, and here's the other thing. Those odds are never right. Like we never refer back to them. Like, hey, they said this team, this team, this team. And then he signs with another team. And then does anybody ever reference how much they're wrong? Because they're not trying to be right. Like they're trying to be right when they set point spreads. They're trying to get the most action, like I said. they're right on those kind of things. That's just like, hey, let's just throw this out there as candy and clickbait so that people keep on their mind betting. Get to your app, get to FanDuel, get to this, get to that. Like they want to be top of mind. And the way to do that is to put clickbait out there. They're not stupid. It's just marketing. And we fall for it every time. So anyway, as that is the backdrop, here's Rich Eisen, and he's just going off on this whole thing because he had Joe Montana on last week, and I played it a lot for you on Radio Row. I mean, I probably played it 6 or 8 times last week just to get Joe's opinion, but he was on with Rich Eisen, and here's Rich talking about those odds of Aaron Rodgers to the 49ers versus just signing Brock Purdy.
Tell me. Oh, Joe's the all-time great. He's a GOAT. He's this, he's that. He's Joe Cool. He knows exactly what to do under pressure. He's neck up, one of the best. Neck down, no, he's not winning any contests. Even Montana said he wasn't winning a lot of numbers contests when he stopped by our show last week at the Super Bowl. But going out the door, I asked Joe Montana, what about Purdy? He's like, they should pay him. He didn't stutter. He didn't go, well, I mean, I need to see more out of him. Well, I don't know, guys. Well, no, Joe Montana's like, pay him. He should be the quarterback of the future, says Joe Montana, of the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. And he doesn't know. He doesn't know. Suddenly there are people, I saw responses to the video he posted.
Well,
and
Rich,
suddenly, what does he know about quarterbacks?
Well, Rich, if you listen to these people, he won 4 Super Bowls, but they were like 40 years ago. Yeah. They don't count.
Also, wait a minute.
All that stuff doesn't count because it happened over 10 years ago.
Plus, and it's a system. He was a system guy.
Yeah.
Product of the Walsh system. Without Rice, he's nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's on the Wall Street.
Except, wait a minute, he won one without Rice.
It happened before the iPhone came out, so
by the way,
clearly doesn't matter.
Those games were in black and white, too, right?
By definition, quarterbacks shouldn't be talking about 21st century issues.
Well, he was playing against plumbers. 4x3. He was playing against plumbers and things.
4x3.
You know what I mean?
No score bug.
There was only 8 yards on the field.
Yeah, it's before that time.
So Purdy haters who are the ones saying, you know what? The Niners are going to blink and they're going to go, we're not paying Purdy. We'd rather take Aaron Rodgers at age 41. We're going to punt Purdy. So the third best odds of where Aaron Rodgers is showing up is San Francisco.
Yes.
That's nuts.
Some places it's the second best.
They're going to pay Purdy. People will have a problem with paying Purdy. And all I will say to those people is, oh, so Joe Montana doesn't know what he's talking about quarterbacking and quarterbacking for the.
There's Rich going off. His premise is correct. His example is wrong because as much as I like Joe Montana, as great of a player he was, doesn't mean that you can evaluate the position because you can play something and do so well at something doesn't mean you can coach it, doesn't mean you can evaluate it. It's hard. I've talked about this many times on the show. I've talked to tons of guys, and really the players who are the best sometimes are the worst executives and coaches because they see the game in a totally different way. Like, how do you not see that? Because I'm not freaking Joe Montana. I don't have your mind for it. A lot of times the worst players are like, because they've been on the bench, they've been kind of mid-level, they have been really high up on the poll a lot. Like in high school, you're great. In college, you're just okay. In the pros, you're a bench warmer. So you've been everywhere, on the pendulum there. And a lot of times the great player is like, I don't understand how you don't see that. When Larry Bird would see, the play 3 or 4 plays ahead, or Magic Johnson or somebody like that. And Bird was okay. Magic was terrible. Lots of great players are not great coaches because they just don't see it and they don't understand maybe that, why aren't you working harder? Or why don't you see that? Or why? So they can struggle. And then I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the quarterback whisperer. Everybody makes mistakes when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's supposed to be a great quarterback guy, and he picked Trey Lance going down the line. He's not the only one. Brock Purdy fell in their lap in the 7th round. I'm not going to say he doesn't get credit for it, but he doesn't get credit for it because he was picked 262. Anybody could have had him, and they just picked him. Brock was on the phone with the Minnesota Vikings and was going to go there had they not taken him. And there's all sorts of things. So whether you played the position at a really high level, it means you should be able to see some of those traits, but a lot of the traits that you just don't see, how much you want it, your heart, how hard your work, your mental side of it, all those kind of things that you just don't know. I mean, John Gruden's seen as a quarterback whisperer. He played quarterback at like Dayton. His brother was in like the Arena League. I'm not saying that Joe Montana isn't great and couldn't evaluate quarterbacks and couldn't see it, and he can talk about it all day long, but it doesn't mean because you're so great at it is that you can evaluate the position. So his premise is correct. This Brock Purdy talk, as I said, with Aaron Rodgers is totally stupid, but it's not because Joe Montana said that Brock Purdy is going to be a great quarterback. Here's why he's not going to be Aaron Rodgers, a member of the 49ers. I did this in a tweet, so it would just be a lot easier because, again, if I pop it up on the screen here, it's see Rich Eisen with betting odds having blah, blah, blah. As you just heard, he basically, and then the video was underneath that. And so this is how I got started on this premise. But so as you can see on the screen there, the reasons why he's not going to be a 49er, Aaron Rodgers. So I said, people watched Rodgers wreck the Jets on and off the field last season, right? No chance he's coming to the 49ers. Let's count the reasons why. So again, Vegas puts it up as betting candy and hopes you'll click on it to keep betting on your mind at all times. It's just a marketing mechanism, okay? It's not real betting. So here are the reasons. Number one, Kyle loves Brock. We all saw, and I've played it for you many times, the end of the year press conference where basically he licked Brock from head to toe, and he's the decision maker when it comes to quarterbacks. Brock is coming back because Kyle loves Brock like he's his own son. That's a fact. Number two, and maybe it should be number one, Robert Saleh would punch Kyle in the face really hard and quit on the spot. You think Robert Saleh, if there's a discussion going on in the building that Aaron Rodgers, who single-handedly submarined his Jets head coaching career, you think that Robert Saleh would be cool with that? Robert Saleh would literally walk into Kyle's office, punch him right in the face, and put in his resignation on Kyle's desk with Kyle bleeding all over the letter of resignation. That's not happening. If there's one team that isn't going to have Aaron Rodgers, it's the 49ers because of Robert Saleh. That reason alone. Rodgers is an asshole, as I write here. Head coach QB egos couldn't coexist ever, like ever, ever. If you look at Kyle Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan's history, it's I'm not going to say a subservient quarterback, but it's somebody who understands that it's Kyle's offense, and you got to run Kyle's offense the way Kyle wants it run. Kyle's got a big ego. Rodgers has a massive ego. There's no way that they could fit together in the same room. So that's not happening. The Jets, as I said, this is the biggest one to me. That I mentioned Aaron Rodgers isn't good anymore, and the only reason is that this is discussed is the 49ers didn't draft the Cal guy 20 years ago. Let it go too late. I mean, honestly, that's my biggest reason. Aaron Rodgers didn't get drafted by the 49ers 20 years ago, 2005. And ever since, everyone's thinking to themselves, how do we make him a Niner? How do we make him a Niner? How do we make him a Niner? It was kind of like the Brady situation. You know, after they lost the Super Bowl, they had a decision to make. And there was Tom Brady having played his last game as a Patriot and looking around going, man, I'd really like to play for the Niners. And the Niners decided, you know what? It's good. It's okay. We're going to keep with Jimmy, and then we're not going to keep with Jimmy. We're going to go to Trey. And the reality was they should have signed Tom Brady, and they didn't. That was a mistake. But this is not the same thing. This is not the same 12, Aaron Rodgers. He's 41. He's not in good shape. He's a complete jerk when it comes to the locker room. He could not fit in the same room ego-wise with Kyle. Robert Saleh would get pissed. I feel like, on the seventh day, and then we go back, and we have to say all of them all over again. It's not happening, and those odds are laughable, seriously. So there's that. So the Cal thing, it's just like everybody's like, oh, he's from Northern California, and he went to Cal, and they should have drafted him. So 20 years later, they're going to make up for that mistake. It's too late, man. Alex is gone. Alex had his career. Alex is in a booth. Alex shattered his leg. Aaron Rodgers is old. Aaron Rodgers is a me guy. I mean, can you imagine him walking into the locker room? 1, 2, 3, me. I mean, it's just, there's no way, man. It's not happening. He's a locker room diva. That's not going to work on a Kyle Shanahan team. It's just not. The Jets, this is another good one too. The Jets let Aaron Rodgers go with no plan at quarterback. They're picking 7th. Sam Darnold's not going to go there as the best free agent quarterback out there. Even the second one that I think could be a rehab project, Daniel Jones, play with the Giants. He's not going to the Jets. They have no plan. Tyrod Taylor's their backup quarterback. They signed him on a 1-year deal. That's it. Like, they would rather have somebody that they pulled out of the crowd. Can anyone play quarterback? Like, if you're in a flight, it's going down in the like airplane, and there's no guys to fly the plane, and all of a sudden Roger Murdoch, which is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Otto, the autopilot, are flying the plane. Like, they'd just rather have that. They'd rather have Otto, the autopilot, at quarterback. They don't have a plan. They don't have a clue. They're probably not going to get one of the rookies to drop to 7. Maybe they'll move up, but they don't really have they're really not in a position to say, hey, let's throw a bunch of draft capital at the 1 or the 1st or 2nd pick and go get one of those quarterbacks. They have so many holes on their team, and they just decided. We went out and gave him Devontae Adams, and Garrett Wilson hates him. And we put a bunch of money in the offensive line, and we drafted an offensive lineman in, I think, 14th overall, the kid from Penn State. Like, they did all these things to acquiesce to Aaron Rodgers, and none of it was good enough. And he was still a jerk and still an ass and still had that smirk on his face, like, I know more than you. And the reality was he couldn't move. He could not move by the end of the year, could not throw. He was one of the principal reasons they were terrible, and tried to distance himself from the organization. And the organization said, oh my God, this guy, we have no one at quarterback. No one. And we don't have really any prospects, but that's better than Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, the Niners are going to bring him in. Okay. Right. Let's keep going. Brock is getting paid by the 49ers. This is my favorite. 12 was Brody and 8 was Young. Sorry, the numbers you like? Yeah, we don't have those. Cannot move. Brock is better, not a 1-2-3 me locker room diva. I said that. Dear Vegas, these are the odds for Aaron Rodgers coming to the 49ers.
Mr. Blutarski. 0.0.
Those are the odds. The odds, I'll correct them for Vegas. Not plus 350, not third most, not any of that. Ooh, plus 350, Aaron Rodgers. He's from Northern California, and the Niners didn't draft him 20 years ago. That makes sense. Let's make up for that mistake. No thanks. Not happening. Not happening. It's Blutarski. It's not plus 350. What is it again?
Blutarski.
Yeah?
0.0.
Exactly. Those are the odds. Those are the odds that Aaron Rodgers comes to the 49ers. 0.0. I guarantee you Robert Saleh had a text to Kyle Shanahan. Kyle, if this is true, I'm walking downstairs to punch you in the face, and I'm leaving the facility immediately. I'm going back to the Packers for no money because the Jets are still paying me, and I'm going to go hang out with Matt LaFleur. If that's the case, if he's anywhere near this facility. That's number one. And I wouldn't want to piss off Robert Saleh. He looks like one of those guys who's not going to say much to you. You know, one of those guys that, there's the guys yelling and screaming, I'm going to kick you. Saleh would just calmly walk into your office. And you're like, uh-oh, he knows we signed Rodgers. It's over for me. Like, Kyle, there's no way. And then Kyle's ego, and they literally couldn't fit in the same room. He and Aaron Rodgers. Like, it's to have those odds as third best. Vegas would never make that. That's like Vegas making, I don't know, just like the worst decision ever, like making the Chiefs 50-point favorites last Sunday in the Super Bowl, and they just got smoked. Like, they wouldn't do that. But it's odds candy, and you click on it, and it's marketing, and they're like, ha, 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 we got him, and we're talking about betting all the time, and Lund's talking about it, and it's FanDuel, and it's all these, like, that's those kind of odds, they're not real. They're not real betting, because Vegas would never make such a dumb decision on a point spread on a game or on a prop or anything like that. The plus 350 to the Niners, they're just laughing. There's go watch how many people click on it. That's what they're doing it for. Like, oh, the Niner fans will go crazy. Rich Eisen will talk about it. Stupid Lund will talk about it. Like, it's just, oh my God. And everyone references it all the time. Did you see the odds for that guy? Did you see that? They come to my mailbox every day. I could bring those up every single day, but I don't. And this one was just, I don't know. Maybe I feel like I need to say something about it and have people realize what those odds are. It's clickbait candy. It's odds candy. That's what it is. He's not coming here for all the reasons that I mentioned. Kyle would kill him quickly. Saleh would kill Kyle. No, this is not 2005. They're never going to make up for that. They should have, but they didn't. It's not happening. It's too late. The Jets said, nah, we'd rather have no plan than the Aaron Rodgers plan, like on and on and on till the break of dawn. He's not coming here. Just saying. All right. Boy, I spent way too much on that. Episode 60, all Brock talk, Rodgers odds, Rich Eisen. That's where we are, and we are 33 minutes into the show. Man, I took that way too long. Way too long. And again, I want you to click on stuff like that. I want you to be able to have fun with the odds and the betting candy there. It's fun to talk about. It is. I'm not condemning anybody because I just fell into the exact trap. What I'm saying is don't take it seriously. Like, don't act like that's gospel. Don't act like they're putting a ton of time into that. You know how Vegas is so meticulous in making, lines for games and everything, point spreads and all that. I mean, at the end of a lot of games, it's like a 4.5 point spread and it's a 28-24 game. You're like, damn, how'd they do that? Like, they know what to do. They have an algorithm. They're smart. They don't lose money. There's no money involved in this. They're just throwing it out there for clickbait, for marketing purposes, so that it's like betting. It's always on your mind. They got you. They got you hook, line, and sinker. And they got me hook, line, and sinker on it. But they would never throw odds on a game that like wildly and stupidly like they do on the clickbait stuff. They would never do that. They don't even think about it. All they think about is what fan bases will freak out the most. How will we get some pub out of this? That's what they do. And we fall for it over and over and over again. Like, they're actually right. Like, if you went back in the history of how many times they're right when they throw this stuff out there, it's pretty much none. Like, if Vegas was run like these odds for where players will go, Vegas would have shut down in, I don't know, the 60s. It would have been over. I mean, Vegas wouldn't have shut down, but the sports books would have. Like, why don't we have, didn't we used to have sports books around here? Yeah. They did all those player odds, and they bombed so badly that they folded all of them. Like, they would never make lines for games. They would never make betting lines, point spreads, things like that as poorly as they do, just throwing the Niners out there at plus 350, knowing that what we all know. I just reminded you of all the reasons why Aaron Rodgers would never come here. And the only one that's a go is, hey, he's from Northern California. The Niners should have drafted him 20 years ago. Yeah, let's make a connection there. And, oh, yeah, Brock Purdy. Yeah, they don't like Brock Purdy at all. It's like, did you see the press conference with Kyle? And I knew this before the press conference, but he's freaking out. Like, he's like, oh, I love this guy so much. Like, no one saw that? Okay. What am I assuming here? Hang on. You're assuming Purdy will sign, not 100%. 100%. I'll tell you right now. And believe me, Off Hamster Wheel, which is a great name. I could be 100% wrong. He is 100% signing. It's not a matter of, to me, and I could be wrong and you could be right, and we'll have this conversation and I'll go, oh, Hamster Wheel, I'm such an idiot. I apologize. But to me, it's 100%. Unless someone's going to say to the Niners, and this is not the quarterback year to do it, I don't like Sanders, I don't like Ward. I'm sure that the Niners are gun shy to take a guy that high. So let's just say for fun, because we've talked about it for fun before. Like, if I was the Jets sitting at 7 and I didn't have a quarterback, I'm sure they've called everybody in the top 10. I'd call for Purdy right now to pick 7. I'd say, if I'm the Jets, here's the 7th overall. Here's our 2nd round pick. Here's our 3rd round pick. Let us have Brock Purdy. And then the Niners have a deal worked out for Sam Darnold or something like that. But they don't, because Kyle Shanahan loves Brock Purdy. He's 100% coming back. They're not trading him for the 7th overall pick. And this also goes back to something I played on the show the other day. I don't have it in my videos today. And this is where, Hamster, you might have a point, which is they're not 100% telling the truth in those press conferences. I just, the other day when we talked about Debo and John Lynch said, we're not in the business of letting good players out of the building. I knew right when he said that, he was already gone. Like, we've talked about it for months, you and I. I didn't believe one word he said about that. So guys aren't always telling the truth. It used to be there was a lying season in sports. It's free agency, it's lying season. It's draft time, it's lying season. It's always lying season now, because there's so many rumors and all these agents are driving these things and everybody's got an agenda, and it's crazy. So just nothing can come out of your building. Agents do, because players talk to their agent. Things come out of the building to the player. So a team says something. This is how it works. The team says something to the player. Player doesn't like it, goes to the agent. Agent has a close relationship with Adam Schefter. They're playing a game back and forth. I'll give you this, you give me that. You rub my back, I'll rub yours. And things get out there, and then in return, Schefter gets all this information. It's not because Schefter's this nice guy or Shams is this nice guy. They've gotten these relationships. I'll tell you what, I'll push your agenda. And then when it's time to break something or something's going on, you let me know. They've worked it. This is all about relationships. This is just not the team. And sometimes the team will leak something out because they want something. But most of the time, 90% of the time, maybe 80% of the time, it's the agent driving an agenda. And that's how things get out. So, yeah, there's going to be some back and forth. There's going to be some days you think he might not sign. There's going to be some things that are thrown out there. This is going to be the highest profile signing of the offseason, because the 49ers are a high profile team, and it's going to be talked about on the talking head shows constantly. But you and I, we're closer to the situation, and we know what's going to happen. And where I go back to, it's lying season all the time. I've told you, Kyle Shanahan is not a good liar. He'll tell you exactly what's on his mind. And when it came to Brock Purdy, it was just like, he went on and on and on and on and on about how much he loves him, how long he's going to be here. He didn't have to go that elaborate. And there's others in the building who probably think, it wasn't that great. Like, they didn't cash in on him, and he generally, now they lost the 3 first-round picks, but they owe him. He saved their ass. Like the Trey Lance thing, you know what we'll be talking about? Not that Kyle and John should ever be fired, but giving up 3 first-round picks, the one they took Lance with and 2 others, which submarines the drafts in 22 and 23, and I know Brock in 22 was a 7th rounder, but they didn't get really anything out of those drafts other than that. And giving those away, especially now that, are they in a window? Are they too old? Man, it'd be nice to have those picks back, at least for depth at the very least, and cheap labor at the same time. So they lost all those opportunities. If they were in a hardcore market of Philly or New York, even if they had Brock Purdy, they'd be barbecued because of it. And we just let him go because it's Brock. Oh, look at what Brock saved him. Well, now we're looking at the 49ers going, God, it'd be nice to have those picks. It'd be nice to have those players with those picks. It was a complete bomb. It was one of the worst moves in the history of the sport to take 3 first-round picks and take Trey Lance with it. One of the worst moves in history. But because of Brock Purdy saving their butt, they don't really talk about it a whole lot around here. And what is that worth? I'm not saying it's Steph Curry, that Chase Center is the house that Steph built and took the Warriors valuation from $450 million to $1.9 billion. So he doesn't owe, the Niners don't owe Brock Purdy like Joe Lacob owes Steph Curry. That's not the kind of thing I'm talking about. But they owe him because without him, where are they? I mean, maybe they're Kirk Cousins. Maybe they're talking Aaron Rodgers. Maybe they would have picked up Tom Brady. It might have been some of those things, clearly. But he's going to get paid for these kind of things. And the fact that in the NFL, and this factors into it, and this goes back to the agent, they played for less than $1 million for the first few years of his career. They're going to take that number, the agent, and they're going to put that against the money that they're going to owe him. And then they're going to elongate the number and say, geez, even with, paying him $60 million AAV, average annual value, look, you got him for $1 million on average or less the first 3 years. So let's average that all out. And geez, it goes back, goes to 40 million or something, whatever it is. So believe me, they're going to play that game and he's going to be here and it's going to be 100%. And if I'm wrong, I'll come on and say I was wrong, but they're 100% signing him. They're a good organization. They rolled over $50 million. They know exactly what they're doing. They can get everything done and still sign Brock Purdy. Everyone's freaking out. Brandon Ayuk's cap number right now, this going into the season, is $11.2 million, but he's making $30 million a year. How's that possible? Because in the 4th year of the deal, it goes to $44 million, and that tells you when the contract is over. They're not having a cap number of Brandon Ayuk at $44 million. So all the other stuff is dummy money. I mean, you can read these contracts pretty easily. So look, Brock's going to get paid, but it's not going to be a big pain in the ass on the cap and for 2 or 3 more years. So they have time and they have a window, and they can afford Brock. It's not outrageous. And the minute Brock started playing well, coming in for Jimmy or in the Miami game, beating Tom Brady, from that moment on, you don't think they started having, when he had the messed up ribs and he won in Seattle, like that was his, second career start? At that very moment, the Niners said, we better start clearing the decks. We better start figuring this thing out because in 3 years, this guy's going to need to get paid. The more he played, the better he played. And up until Philly in that rookie year where his arm fell off, and then they kind of went, uh-oh, if this isn't, But then he came back and he played the way he played that year, led him to a Super Bowl. This has been going on for the minute Brock Purdy showed he could play. They're like, okay, what do we do? Like, it's not like me when I wake up in the morning and I look at my bank account, it's got $4.32 in it, and I go, oh, man, how am I going to figure this financial thing out? Man, I got to go do something. They don't do that. They have 5-year plans, 10-year plans, 1-year plan. Like, they do all these kind of things. They have guys. They have a complete department. I know this is crazy. They have a complete department this is all they do. And they've been doing it for a long time when it comes to Brock Purdy. They've got all these situations and all these. And it's not like trading him hasn't come up. Like, well, what if this team called us and offered player X? Yeah, we might look at that. But there is no plan B scenario. Darnold's not coming here. Daniel Jones, I think, is a rehab project. He's not coming here. Like, there's no Kirk Cousins. You think they're going to go get Kirk Cousins and pay all that money? Okay, Brock's being a major pain in the ass. We're trading Brock and bringing in my old favorite because everybody loves him, and that's all anybody does as well. Remember, he loves Kirk Cousins. He doesn't like age 37 season Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles. That's not the guy that he liked. He liked the guy that was running off the field in Washington going, you like that? You like that? That guy was like 20. How old was that guy? 27, 28, and his Achilles hadn't torn out the year before. He doesn't like that guy. That's like where everybody go back to Aaron Rodgers for a minute. Everybody liked the Aaron Rodgers that was in Green Bay winning MVPs. That's the guy the Niners wanted, and that's the guy that the Niners made a mistake on all those years ago. That's the guy. They didn't make a mistake on 41-year-old ayahuasca guy, tearing up locker rooms, getting Robert Saleh fired. They didn't miss on that guy. They missed on the young guy. That's the guy they should have taken. He's not that guy anymore. None of us are after a while. Anybody watch Aaron Rodgers at the end of the year? My God. It's terrible. And then people are putting out odds. Yeah, go to the Niners. Dude, he needs to go. He needs to. I don't know what he's going to do. He's not going to be a broadcaster afterwards. But I don't know what he's going to do. But I'm just saying, out to pasture. Aaron Rodgers is done. Like, you know, when a guy is done in sports, it's not usually a gradual kind of a thing. With Aaron Rodgers, it's just went, like, that's it. See ya. Good night. See you, everybody. I mean, just like Travis Kelsey in the Super Bowl, he can keep playing. I'm not saying Travis Kelsey can't keep playing. He can, and we'll get to that in just a second. But, like, he couldn't block. He couldn't move. He couldn't catch. He couldn't – like, I give the guy a ton of credit. But where some guys, their career ends at 30, some 35, some 40, it just depends. Travis Kelsey, and I'll play a cup for you why I think he's going to retire. But Kelsey's, like, he's played a lot more football. He explained that during New Heights in a podcast with Jason Kelsey, the very popular podcast. And, I mean, the guy sounds like he's done. And in the Super Bowl, he looked done. Like, it's not a gradual thing. Like, Travis Kelsey went from crushing the 49ers in the second half of last year's Super Bowl. And I was waiting for that to happen on Sunday. Like, oh, yeah, last year. And Oren Burks was the same damn guy that was covering him. Where was that friggin' Aaron? By the way, I haven't gone on that tangent. Where was that Aaron Burks last year? Here's Oren Burks. Woohoo. Look at I can cover Travis Kelsey. Yeah, well, Travis Kelsey that's going to retire, I guess you can. Anyway, okay. Just don't make me bring that up anymore. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be angry talking about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers and stuff. I don't want to get all angry and mad over that. It's not even worth my time. Let's do play. Let me look at what people are talking about right now, and then we can move on to Kelsey. And I think that he is done. Sounds like it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I never know when to pop that in there. Hey, please like and subscribe. I really like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. I got to catch this thing. It moves so fast. There you go. Like and subscribe. Thank you, Scott. I really appreciate you doing my work for me because I can only do so much. And after a while, people are like, hey, would you shut up? All right, here is on the chalkboard today, Kelsey retire. Let's get to that. Kelsey retire. Now, this is on the New Heights, the latest New Heights episode with he and Jason. And this certainly sounds like a guy that's going to retire to me.
Years I've played more football than anybody.
Yeah.
And it's because the people that are in that building,
let me go back.
Understanding, that there's a lot. Yeah, it's going to sting. I know everybody wants to know whether or not I'm playing next year. And right now I'm just kicking everything down the road. I'm kicking every can I can down the road, and I'm not making any crazy decisions. But right now, the biggest thing is just being there for my teammates and being there for my coaches, understanding, that there's a lot that goes into this thing. I've been fortunate over the past 5-6 years. I've played more football than anybody.
Yeah.
And it's because the people that are in that building and the fact that we keep going to these AFC championships and these Super Bowls. And that means I'm playing an extra 3 games more than everybody else in the entire league. And that's a lot of wear and tear on your body. And it's a lot of time spent in the building. Focusing on your craft, focusing on the task at hand, every challenge that you set up for yourself. And it's that process can be grueling. It can weigh on you. It can make you better, and it can drive you crazy at the same time. And right now it's one of those things where it was kind of driving me crazy this year. And I think that it happens as you kind of tail off towards the.
All right, so there's Travis Kelsey. And the reason I bring it up is clearly he's beaten the 49ers in the past. It wouldn't be so bad if Travis Kelsey was gone, but that certainly sounds like a guy that's going to retire. Now, having said that, let's read the room a little bit. I've been in a room where Trent Williams certainly sounded like he was going to retire. A number of different guys have said that, and people say that once you start talking about it, then you're going to do it. It doesn't necessarily work that way. Some guys have talked about it, but you're 35 years old, you're banged up. He just talked about how many extra games he plays every single year. We could tell at the end of the year. I played some of the highlights at the end of the year. He's never been a great blocker, but his effort was waning. There was a ball that was fumbled. He didn't go down and get it. It just seemed like this has nothing to do with Taylor Swift. It just has to do with the fact that it seems like he's at the end of the line, and he's certainly during the season wasn't as good, and he certainly in the playoffs, he jumped it up a little bit and played better, but you heard him talk about it, and players talk about this all the time, the process and how hard it is and to get ready and all that kind of stuff. And clearly the one thing is, and he seems like one of those guys, he may change his mind. It sounds like if he had to make the decision today, he would retire. But that's just after losing a Super Bowl a few days ago. He's beat up, and he might get rejuvenated. He might want to go back. The other side of it is for a guy like Travis Kelsey, because he has such a great personality. That podcast that you just saw there, the clip that we played it from New Heights, those guys are making like $1 million off of that, and that's not what Travis Kelsey's making. And he's got Taylor Swift in the house, and I'm sure she's going, "Hey, bro, you can't go from like making something to nothing." Even though she's got enough money for 100 generations of families and even more than that. But I think that he's got other passions. Whatever he wants to do afterwards from a standpoint of the media, he can make a boatload of money. Travis Kelsey could be in a studio, be a studio guy. Jason, I mean, I guess the one thing is that pops into my head. Can you imagine? Like Jason Kelsey and Snoop Dogg, I would say those two. It's like, please, no more. Please, 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 please. No, 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 no. Like no more commercials, no more hosting, no more late night, no more T-Mobiles, no more, Olympics, no more. Like, one of those two guys is on your TV at all times. It doesn't, like, if you watch sports, one of those two guys, either Jason Kelsey or Snoop Dogg, are on your TV at all times. Snoop Dogg's hosting NFL honors. Kelsey's doing a late night show. Kelsey's on Monday Night Countdown. He's on a podcast. His wife's on a podcast. Chunky Soup, cereals. I mean, for the love of God, man, like Jason Kelsey didn't say no to one thing, which I get it. He was a center. So you get no accolades. You block for somebody and they score a touchdown and you're wearing 62 and you're like, God, I'm just sweating and scratching and dying and muscles are ripped and all these kind of things. And I don't get any credit. So he left football, Jason Kelsey, and just went, I will get every camera on me. Like for X amount of years, I played in the league and I was a center and nobody talked about me. And now all of a sudden, everybody's going to talk about me. And I know the Mummers Parade and all the different things he did, but nobody talked about him. And now he retires and it's like he's making tons more money than he made when he was playing and he's high profile. So, and Jason Kelsey's kind of the second banana Kelsey. So can you imagine what it's going to be like next year if Travis Kelsey retires? Like he'll make even more money. He's a better looking guy. He's got the high profile girlfriend. He's won more rings. Like it will be unbelievable. So networks will be falling all over themselves for Travis Kelsey. He's still got the podcast. He'll take every commercial because he kind of already did, from State Farm, like I said, to Chunky Soup, to all these different things. So he'll partner up with his brother. ESPN would hire him. He could even do higher profile things than that. I think he could be good as an analyst. So Travis Kelsey has millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars waiting for him. He doesn't have to be the football player anymore. He can be the Travis Kelsey, bring it on, just like Jason. Like, talk to my agent and whatever I'm going to do. There are so many social media platforms, as we know. Jason Kelsey can make a lot more money off the field, Travis Kelsey can make so much more money off the field than he's making. And you heard him right there. Like, why am I beating myself up? He is going to go down in history, even though he doesn't block like a George Kittle. So he's not the all-around tight end George is. But for a generation, probably because he won other Super Bowls and made all the catches and had the high-profile girlfriend, or has the high-profile girlfriend, he'll probably go down in the court of public opinion as a better tight end than George Kittle. He's not, but he's higher profile, and so he probably will. So his we always talk about this word, and I kind of hate it, legacy. Your legacy is secure. His legacy is secure. It's not going to change whether he plays in another year or not. Another Super Bowl, if they were to win one on the pile, is great, but it's not going to matter. So he is who he is. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to make a ton of money off the field. None of those things are going to change. The only thing that will change is, these guys don't like quitting the thing that they've done their entire life to make them as famous as they are. And it's hard to walk away. I'm sure it is. What would I know? I'm about as unathletic as they come, but I get it. You're evolving to the next point of your life. But he's 35 years old. So all of a sudden you go from, man, he's broken down, he's 35, he's old, to he retires, he's 35 and he's young. 35 is young. And he's got all these things ahead of him. And if he really loves Taylor Swift the way that they act like they love each other, then he has more time to travel and he can dictate his own schedule. And I would imagine he would be happier because, to be honest, I think Taylor Swift likes going to Kansas City and freezing her ass off and going through all the, the muckety muck of a bunch of NFL fans and security and all that kind of stuff. I mean, she really doesn't, I'm sure. Like, oh my God, Kansas City this weekend. Who are they playing? The Colts? Ugh, they're going to put the cameras on me. I'm sure she doesn't love it. She's got enough publicity. She's got enough cameras. She's got enough money. She's got enough all that. The NFL needs her more than she needs the NFL. So it sounds like Travis Kelsey's going to retire, and I don't know anything about Travis Kelsey, so I'm trying to get into his head. But if I'm him, why am I playing? Why am I getting beat up? Why am I anything? Like, his legacy is not going to be tarnished if he doesn't play as well. But why am I opening myself up to criticism? Why don't I just, if I can't beat him, join him, kind of a thing? They'll pay me more money than anybody that's getting paid in media. He'll get paid more than anyone, because there'll be a huge fight for his services. Fox, ESPN, any upstart, Barstool, anybody, like everybody's going to be on Travis Kelsey. It'll exceed $20 million a year, easy, and it'll do a bunch of commercials, and he'll make a ton more money because he'll have more time, just like Jason Kelsey. He'll have more time to actually concentrate on making money than playing football and making money on the side. His job will be making money. Printing money is what he'll do. So anyway, I think it was a talk show host, right? Travis Kelsey. So it sounds like he's going to retire. But if I'm him, I don't understand why I would play anymore unless, because like I said, he's been all pro a million times, caught a bunch of passes, won a bunch of Super Bowls. Like what else do you got? You have the highest profile girlfriend in the world. Like there's all these things that you could do. People are, I'm sure, are crushing down his door. Tons of his agent is probably like, oh my God, he needs like 5 agents. Anyway, I don't know if you care if Travis Kelsey is going to retire. The only reason I would say that I would care is because it does start to chip away at the Chiefs' kingdom. I don't care that Travis Kelsey's not playing at the level that he's played at. Noah Gray is not Travis Kelsey. He's just not. So you start to see those chip away. And even though they're in the AFC, it's like, could those guys go away so that we can play somebody else in the Super Bowl potentially? Which leads me to the whole thing of I'm not down on the 49ers. That was actually above Kelsey, but I'll do this really quick. We were Krug and I had a show the other day together, and I love doing shows with Krug. He's absolutely great. And on Monday night, we had a show, and he was talking about how down he is on the 49ers and really doesn't see a way out for these guys and was a bit down on them. And I think that right now that's a prevailing opinion. I could be wrong. You tell me in the comments. And by the way, hit me up at John Lund Radio as people are watching on Twitter and X today, as well as YouTube. And make sure you subscribe, like, and make sure that those alerts are on. Very important because we have shows on throughout. And of course, JohnLundUnleashed.com. Maybe I'll write about this today, or maybe I'll write about Jimmy. I'm not sure. They're playing Dallas today, which we got to get into in just a second because they're just getting crushed down in Dallas. I don't know if you saw the video of the owner walking on the court, but we got to play that for you. So we'll do that in just a minute. But surprisingly, and we talked about this yesterday, and I had the short show because I had some things I had to do. Whatever comes into my head is how I talk about it. And whether it's crazy, right, wrong, indifferent, and you can poke holes in it all you want, it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. And having a different angle that I haven't thought about and all these kind of things, I think it's absolutely great. So I'm not going to go on some diatribe just because it's cool to do and follow the sheep down the line because the 49ers had a bad season and say that they're not a good organization and they still don't have a lot of talent. In 2020, after the Super Bowl in 1920, they had a season like this, but not nearly as bad because of the injuries and the weirdness. And what did they do the next year? They went to the NFC Championship game, should have played in the Super Bowl against the Bengals and won it. And they bounced right back. And then they went the next year after that, they went to Philly, NFC Championship game. Brock gets hurt. Oh, my God, the offseason was all they're never going to make it. They're never going to make it. Brock, oh, my God, what's going to happen? They just went to the Super Bowl. That's all. And Brock didn't have an offseason. And then this year, the injuries were too much to overcome. Brock tried to do too much. Poor defensive coordinator, lots of injuries. All these different things happen. All this weirdness. Ayuk holds out, gets hurt. Trent Williams holds out, gets hurt. Like all these weird things happen. And I've said to you many, many times, there's excuses and explanations as far as injuries are concerned. I'm going to say that was an explanation. A big reason why they didn't perform last year was injuries. And people don't want to hear that week after week after week. It's like, we know, we heard you. They're injured, but why do they suck? Well, the main reason was they were injured. Now, they have a lot to do, and I'm not saying they're up with Philadelphia after what we just saw. And I'm not saying that they're up with the Lions or even the Packers. The Vikings are interesting because they're going to kick Sam Darnold out the door after Sam Darnold was a top 5 MVP guy, and they're going to go with the rookie and J.J. McCarthy. We'll see. A lot of people like J.J. McCarthy, but he didn't throw the ball a lot at Michigan. He has wonderful hair, but the eye black is on point. But I'm not sure that J.J. McCarthy can play, and he's going to play like a rookie at times, which means he's going to make mistakes. And while the Vikings have a really good defense under Brian Flores, and I don't know why someone didn't hire him in the offseason. I know he's had some issues in the past, but that's as good of a defense as I saw all year last year against the Niners. So, they're still going to be a factor, but they may have I know he's a second-year guy technically, but a rookie starting at quarterback. So I'm not sure what Minnesota is going to do. My point in saying all this is with decent health, not weirdness from the football gods, with a last-place schedule, with Purdy playing a lot better, which is what I expect. And that's not just, I hope he plays better. Just look at the logic of it, of getting these guys back, playing within the system. Kyle getting with him, saying, dude, we just can't have you turn it over, like a total reset to Brock. And I'm not saying he's going to be Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes, but I am saying he's going to be a top 10 quarterback and he's not going to turn the ball over like he did last year. And that's a big part of it. The defense needs to be fixed. They brought in Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley. And while those guys will not make any tackles next year, intercept any passes, set any edges, cause any fumbles, recover any fumbles, none of those things, they're going to do none of that. I still think that with on every level, Bosa on the front, Warner on the second level, Demo on the third level, and then a lot of the guys that they have, a lot of those guys that they have. Hold on, just 1 second. Defensive tackle is available. Harry Johnson. That's a wild reference right there. Back to my Portland days, but there's enough there. Is my point. There's enough there. Robert Saleh wouldn't take this job because what does Robert Saleh want to do? Doesn't want to be a defensive coordinator the rest of his life. One of the reasons why people said, "Oh, I don't know if Robert Saleh would be a good choice as defensive coordinator because he's going to get a head coaching job real quick." Ding, 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 ding. That's what they want. The Niners want him to get here and be so good as defensive coordinator and fixing this thing that he becomes a head coach. Like, what a great problem to have. People were actually saying that out loud. Like, they can't bring in Robert Saleh because he's going to be so good as defensive coordinator. He's going to go get another head coaching job. What a great problem that is, because that means they probably ended up in the Super Bowl or the defense was like a top 5 unit. Oh, who would want that? That's so crazy. Why would they do that? Saleh's going to come back and not alone fix this thing, but it's a lot better than Nick Sorensen rookie and Brandon Staley weirdo. That was the defensive coaching staff last year. Next year, it's going to be Robert Saleh, who's proven it, and Gus Bradley, who's proven it. 2 veteran guys. So they'll get the best out of everybody. Now it comes down to, hey, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, what can you do in the draft? And I've said this before. I'm giving up 11 for Myles Garrett, and nobody else is going to give up 11. And everybody is always under this illusion when a player becomes available. Oh, it's going to cost 3 ones and 2. Quarterbacks cost multiple ones. That's the only position. You're not giving up multiple ones. It's been done before in the league where certain positions, like Jerry Jones one time, just off the top of my head, gave up 2 number ones for Joey Galloway, college football analyst, super fast guy out of Ohio State. Couldn't get a deal done with Seattle. And Jerry Jones gives up 2 number ones. It's like, are you insane? Like, sane people don't do that kind of stuff. Seattle, I think, gave up 2 number ones for Jamal Adams. How did that work out? So when those things happen, but the league goes, we're not doing that. So would the Niners potentially give up, I don't know, a 1 and a 3 or a 1 and a conditional that could move up to? Yeah, they might. But Myles, they have the 11th overall pick in the draft. And if Myles Garrett wants to come here, which is the key, then he's going to, I think that they could be co-favorites in the house. I think Commanders are a team that they're going to look at. I think, as I said, I think the Lions need to heat up the quarterback. He wants to win. So think of those teams that are winning at a really high level. That's where he wants to go. But he also, we can bring Jimmy Butler into this, and then we can kind of transition to the Warriors. And Jimmy, he's also going to want to get paid, and I understand that. But the Niners can do these things. I've said this again and again. They can bring in Drew Dahlman to be their center from Stanford and through the Atlanta Falcons. They can bring in a veteran guard, because that's not a very highly paid position. They can finagle the contract. They can bring in Myles Garrett. They can still re-sign Brock, because his number is not going to be huge. It's going to be under the level, even though the AAV, people are going to freak out. His first year number is going to be like $15 million, which for me and you, it's like, oh my God. But for a quarterback, it's not a lot. It's going to be a few years until he gets paid. They can do all of these things, and they have a master manipulator of the cap in Parag Marathe. They can do all these things. They're not the Giants, which we'll get into a little bit as well. They're not the Giants. They're going for it. They're in a window, and that's what Krug and I were talking about. Is should they be in a window? Should they be aggressive? I think Tim Kawakami said, "Oh, they're going to be aggressive." No kidding. You ever been down at the building down? They're going. I've said this for years. There is a palpable tension in the air when you go down to the 49ers as a media member. They are so desperate, and that's the right word, to win a Super Bowl, and they're not taking the pedal off the metal. They are not saying, Kyle Shanahan will not say that this group of guys, this era, is going to be like Harbaugh's era that's not going to win a Super Bowl. That is unacceptable to this group, to this team, to this organization, to this front office, to Jed York. I know that for a fact. They're going to keep going hard. And look, if they don't get it done, whatever. And then they'll admit defeat and they'll move on. But this is not the time to do that. And this reminds me a lot of a year ago, not to say that they're going to be Philadelphia, but it reminds me a lot of a year ago as everybody was like, Philly's done. Philly's dead. Jalen Hurts stinks. They replaced both coordinators. By the way, one guy, Vic Fangio, who was great, and they had a terrible defense, and he pulled it all together. And they had a lot of young pieces. We've talked about how the Eagles were built, did a great job in the draft and free agency. But then Kellen Moore, they replaced Brian Johnson, a young offensive coordinator, with Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore today just was introduced as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. They did a lot right, did the Eagles last offseason. They signed a guy named Saquon Barkley. They signed a guy named Zach Bond, who went from special teamer in New Orleans to all-pro middle linebacker, who got an interception at the 10-yard line in the Super Bowl. Like if they if they have that kind of an offseason, which is doubtful, even that good of an offseason, yeah, they'll win the Super Bowl just like the Eagles. They're not. It would be virtually impossible to have that kind of offseason to get. And I'm not saying a running back, but what I'm saying is like to get a player of the caliber of Saquon Barkley, to get a player of the caliber of Zach Bond, but they did replace their defensive coordinator. They do have a guy that's as good as Barkley when he's healthy in Christian McCaffrey because he just did it a year ago and everybody's counting him out. So, look, I'm not being Joey Blue Skies here. I'm just saying if you look at things logically and throw in the fact that they have a last place schedule, they're going to be in the playoffs next year. But that's not good enough for the 49ers, and that's not good enough for you, the fan. The expectation level is kind of like it is with the Warriors. As long as Steph Curry is around, as long as Draymond Green's around, and as long as the team is being coached by Steve Kerr, the expectation level is championship or bust. Even if they don't have the players to do it, you look at those guys and you say, until you retire, bro, until 30 retires, the expectation level is you win a championship or you die trying. And the same thing is with the 49ers. When Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are here, John Lynch will go back to TV if he doesn't think he can win a championship. It's the only reason he's here. I know that for a fact. He wants to finish the job. He's goal-oriented. So when John Lynch, if and when John Lynch can win this thing, the next day he'll be in the Fox booth. But he doesn't want to leave until that's done. And they feel like they're in a championship window. And I look at the same thing and I say, yeah, I think they are too. They have a lot of work to do. There's no question about it. But there's still a lot of great pieces for this team. And so when I hear people saying, well, they're done, this is over, I don't agree. And it's not homerism in the slightest. I don't work for the 49ers. They don't give me any money. I don't have to homer out for them. I don't have to do that. I call it like I see it. And if I didn't think that they were going to be a bounce back team next year, like I saw power rankings and they're like 13th. And it's like, well, no kidding. They haven't done anything in the offseason. We'll see. They are trying just like the Warriors, and the Warriors are a little bit further down the line. Like the Warriors, to me, this Jimmy Butler thing is really interesting. So let's transition to that. He's given them great new life. I don't know that they're a championship team, but they made a great move in getting Jimmy Butler. We'll see. It's kumbaya. He and Draymond are getting along. He's Mr. Inside. Curry's Mr. Outside. They're getting some luck in that they just played Milwaukee, and there was no Giannis. They got Dallas tonight. I mean, my God, they're just going bananas. But I told you that. I did. If you watch the show with any regularity, I said, as we analyzed the Luka trade from all different angles, I said one of the things that's not being talked about because it's Dallas related, not nationally, and how great Luke is and the number one guy and the future of the Lakers and all those big things. But a side note that I told you, having worked in Dallas, a side note I told you when this deal went down is I said they're going to lose their minds in Dallas because it's a football town. I mean, it's a football state. So Fridays, and I've told you this story before, Fridays my wife and I would go anywhere we wanted. We lived in a place called South Lake, Texas. And it's South Lake Carroll High School. And it's 60,000 seats in a high school football stadium. Deion Sanders' kid played there. Wayne Gretzky's kid played there. Nate Newton's kid played there. Like all the former Cowboys. South Lake Carroll is one of the top programs. It's like De La Salle is. It's one of the top programs in the country. One of the top. And they have stadiums like that all over Texas on a Friday night. So we could not make a reservation. We didn't have to make a reservation anywhere. The finest steakhouse, wherever we wanted to go. We lived in South Lake, and that's where the high school was, the biggest powerhouse in the state of Texas. And everyone was at the game, and they were flying these flags. It was like a college game on a Friday night. And we would go to any steakhouse we wanted on a Friday between like 6:30 and 9:30. And then when it let out, all hell broke loose, and all the restaurants they would stay open late because they knew. But like 6:30, 7 o'clock, you got the rent of the place. There's like 3 people in there, and it's a bunch of old people and like people who didn't realize or didn't like football or something. So Friday nights was high school football at the highest level you've ever seen in your life. Saturday was all about whatever Texas team you liked or Oklahoma team because everybody in that area went to Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas, TCU, Texas A&M, like all those. So that was absolutely bananas. And then Sundays was everything Cowboys. Like we were in Dallas, so Texans really didn't whatever. It was Cowboys, Cowboys, Cowboys. So for the Mavericks to get a sliver of that, and I told you I was there when they won 67 games and we believe Warriors beat them and all that kind of stuff. Like, so I've seen it when they're at a really high level. After they lost that series, Mark Cuban, I was running ESPN Dallas, 103.3 in Dallas, and Mark Cuban ran right by my office because he heard the guy, Randy Galloway, who was our drive time host, just crushing Cuban in the Mavericks. And he literally went from his plane to his car to the radio station where we carried the game. and jumped right on the air and was like, talking all about it. So the only time there's passion about the Mavericks is if they win really big, lose really big. And the only time I've, can remember them being relevant is when Dirk Nowitzki was there. They loved Dirk. And when Luka was there, they loved Luka. And in that way, they're a little bit like us and LA in that if they're going to pay attention to basketball, you got to win at a really high level or you got to have a star that they love. And they loved Luka. He was their guy. And so they didn't take into consideration how bad this was going to get. Like, this is going to get worse and worse and worse with time. But the fact that Anthony Davis gets hurt right out of the gate, and then, Luka's playing now and all this kind of stuff, and they love football, they'll just say, screw it. And the NFL, as we know, because what did we start the show with today? Brock talk, Rodgers talk, Rich Eisen, Travis Kelsey possibly retiring. Like, the NFL never has an offseason. The spotlight's always on. They've done an awesome job in the NFL, better than any other sport in keeping themselves relevant and in the center of attention. So here is, I think it's Patrick Dumont is the guy. The Adelson Group owns the team, but he is the guy who comes around because the Adelsons live in Las Vegas, who bought the team from Mark Cuban. Cuban owns like 27% of the team, so he doesn't have a say in what they do. He just owns a financial stake now. So this is Dumont going to his seat yesterday courtside, and this is who the Warriors play tonight. How would it be being that guy? Like, oh my God. You're calling the Adelson Group at all times going, what did you guys do to me? Why didn't anybody tell me this was going to be the reaction? Cuban could have told you if you had asked him. I told you after the fact. I didn't know that there was going to be a Luka trade, but if I was in that room, I could have told you that was going to be the reaction. Like, they're pissed. I mean, that's like trading Steph at 25. Like, when Steph had the ankle issues, I don't know, what would have been the reaction? Steph signs the full on 44. He signs the 4-year, $44 million contract because of the ankles, which seems so ridiculous. He makes more than that in a season, but because of the ankles, and we were worried, and they were making specialty shoes. Remember when Rick Barry was like, "This is what you should wear," and all that. And so he signs for 4 and 44. And if I don't know that this is true or not, but like the Bogut trade when Monte Ellis was in it, and we know the story, and Joe Lacob was a new owner and tried to go courtside, and they booed him just like that for trading Monte Ellis. So that reminds me a little bit of that. But what if they had traded, because there was a rumor that Milwaukee, they said, look, you can either have Monte Ellis or Steph Curry. And Milwaukee was a little bit nervous about the ankles and went, we'll take Monte Ellis. If they had taken Steph Curry and Steph Curry blew up in what Steph Curry is, my God, can you imagine the reaction? I don't know if we get that mad. I guess we do, because I should go back and find that video, because it was probably that bad. It was probably that bad or worse, because I've talked to Pop a million times about it, because he emceed that night. And they kept telling Greg was in the back at Oracle, obviously, Oracle Arena. And when they were booing and going crazy and everything, they were in the like a hallway. And Joe Lacob was genuinely shocked that they were booing him like that. He's like, what's going on? And Greg was like, dude, you traded Monte Ellis. They loved that guy. And they don't know who Andrew Bogut is, because remember, Bogut at the time was hurt. He was a number 1 overall pick of the draft out of Utah, but he was hurt at the time. So a lot of people who weren't NBA aficionados were like, we don't know who this guy is. And all we know is he fell down and he shattered his arm or whatever, and your wrist isn't supposed to go that way. So that's all the videos that were being played is, here's this guy that's hurt. And they wanted to open things up for Clay and Steph to be in the backcourt together, because they knew Monte and Steph wouldn't work size-wise, defense-wise, all that kind of stuff. But so, yeah, we have booed somebody like that, but that was for Monte. But Monte was never Luka Doncic. I mean, people loved Monte, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't ever Luka Doncic. And it's just a totally different dynamic. The fact that they don't have a superstar to that level, they're just like, no, we're good. We're good. Like, no, that's cool. No, we're good. We're good. You don't need to pay attention anymore. We're booing you. But they showed some overhead shots too. Dallas is like the Bay Area and LA in this way. It's like, if we don't like something, like, okay, we bought tickets for it. But if we don't like something and it's going in the wrong direction, we won't compound the problem and go and give you $20 for a beer and, $25 for nachos and all this kind of stuff and spend. So we went to the game begrudgingly because, God, I got tickets to the game and I got to go. So then I paid $50 for parking. I don't know, a couple of $100 for concessions. So I'm going to go and I'm spend a bunch more money and give you my money even if I have the tickets, like we'll just eat the tickets. Like I'm not going. I don't want to pay a bunch of concessions. I don't want to bitch. I don't want to moan. I don't want to boo. I don't want to do that. Like I just won't go. We're just indifferent. And that's what's happening is in Dallas is there's like, we're just indifferent. We don't care. We're not going to hang out. We're not going to go. So on the board there, it talks about sports timing. You see under Butler 2.0, which we'll get to, or 2.0, I should say, because that's a record. But if I'm doing Mavs owner right now on the board, if you're watching on the chalkboard, we're at Mavs owner. But let me just go to sports timing. So when we do these, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, I do that all the time. The Niners schedule comes out, win, loss, 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 win, win, all those kind of things. We never take into account, well, that guy's going to be hurt. That guy's going to be out. That guy's got a personal problem. The quarterback's injured. We all do that, and we assume that it's perfect health, right? Everything's perfect health, and it never is. So now, who would have known at the beginning of the year, and not that anybody does this over an 82-game schedule, but certainly if you looked at the schedule that they have, and let me just pop this up on the screen real quick, and I think this still has the let me see the schedule. I think this still has Monday's game as in there, so that's passed. But if we looked at this when we played the schedule game, because this is kind of what you do with the NBA, you don't do it with 82 games, but you do it in stretches. So what do I have up there? 4, 7, 9, 11 games right there. So at the beginning, if you looked at that just objectively and you didn't know Giannis was out, you'd go, ooh, at Milwaukee, that's a loss. You look at Dallas with Luka and you'd go, well, that's going to be tough. They were in the NBA Finals last year. That's a loss. And you look at Houston at the beginning of the year and you go, well, they're okay. They were fighting with the Warriors last year to the bottom. They can win that game. You look at Sacramento and you're like, here's my point. Now you look at it and you say, okay, Milwaukee didn't have Giannis, and you got Jimmy Butler, by the way. Dallas, I just showed you, they're booing the hell out of their owner and they're indifferent towards the team. And there is no Luka, and Anthony Davis is hurt. They should win tonight. Probably won't now, but they should win tonight. Houston's a really good team. That's going to be tough. And it's on the back end of a back-to-back. Then you got the All-Star break. Then it's in San Francisco. The Kings, they still really haven't, with the Aaron Fox gone, they really haven't found their stride. They were really hitting it when they had Fox, even though it was a problem, and Doug Christie took over. So I don't know. That's kind of an up-in-the-air game. Dallas, again, still no Anthony Davis. Charlotte stinks. Orlando's got injuries. I need to check in on them. Philadelphia, at the beginning of the year, like, whoa, they got Paul George and Joel Embiid. They stink. Charlotte, as I said. New York, right before the season, it's like they get, Karl Anthony Towns. That's going to be really tough, and Brooklyn stinks. They traded a bunch of guys. They stink. They're the Cam Johnsons right now. That's about it. So you should win that game. So it's hard to go through that not knowing. And then all of a sudden you look at things and you say, geez, Milwaukee doesn't have Giannis and Dallas doesn't have Anthony Davis, and they traded Luka. And so you just don't know. So sports timing means, yeah, we can look at that game at the beginning of the season and between Dallas and Houston and say, okay, Dallas on the 12th going to Houston on the 13th. That could be back-to-back losses. Now you look at it and say they're going to be able to beat Dallas tonight and rest guys, and they might be able to win both of those games. So sports timing is different. At the beginning of the year, I looked at the Niners schedule, and I think I said like 12-5. I didn't know there was going to be all these injuries and weirdness and Ayuk's and Trent Williams and all this different stuff going on, and Brock trying to do too much. Who knew? So you break it down into stretches of 10 games in the NBA, and you look at the situation, and you see all these injuries and everything else. It's timing. Now, they could lose tonight in Dallas, but when would you rather be playing the Mavericks? Luka just got traded. Anthony Davis is out, and this is fan reaction. I mean, do you think it's a good time to be playing the Mavericks right now if you're the opposition? I don't think there's a better time in history to be playing any team than that. Like, they might be cheering the Warriors tonight rather than the Mavericks just because they're so pissed at what the Adelsons did in trading their guy, Luka Doncic. That is as good as it gets in terms of when you're playing a team. So that's pretty good. So that's sports timing. Let me jump out to the lines here real quick because I am going to discuss Jimmy a little bit. And we still have a ton of stuff to do today. I don't know if I'm going to get to a Durant thing, but ST Day 1 means spring training. Alex Bregman I want to talk about. I have so much random weird stuff that happened to me in the last 24 hours that I need to vomit it out somewhere to someone, even if people are like, are you serious, bro? Do we need to hear this? I got some good stories. I think it's good. Daniel says, light the beam, Warriors loss coming February 21st. Yeah, that's an interesting one. The Kings have kind of had their number a little bit as of late, knocking them out and all those kind of things. The De'Aaron Fox thing, I think, is going to be interesting to watch for San Antonio. I don't expect – they're kind of a mishmash unit, Daniel, even though I hear you, bro. But I don't love the mix with the Kings, but then that's been them for the last few years. Like, they haven't been able to get – it's not fantasy basketball, and they've got to be able to get some sort of chemistry going. And I know De'Aaron Fox at the end, that wasn't great. But look, I don't know how to look at that game. That's crazy. That one right there. So good to see you, my friend. So again, we just finished up the sports timing. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, okay. All right. I have to leave in 15 minutes. Speed it up. All right. Sorry. Boy, I got a lot of stuff. Joy. You're gonna have to I don't know, push that appointment back or something. I have so many good things. All right, let's go to do we need to do anything else here? Dog show. I'm gonna get to Eisen already did that guy. The chances of Rodgers coming to the Niners.
Mr. Blutowski.
0.0. Let's see, what else do we got? I could play the Steph thing, but I'll wait. There's nothing pressing on that. We'll talk more about the way that the Warriors are playing, but Joy's in a hurry, so I got to get to some of this stuff. Special teams day one, special teams. Spring training day one, and I don't know if this hit you, and you probably saw this, but when Susan Slusser threw this out today, and I began the show with this, but I just want to circle back to it. Like, baseball's here. And my general thought on the Giants is, and I hope I'm 100% wrong, and there's Scottsdale Stadium on a cloudy day. I hope I'm 100% wrong, but this is as optimistic as I'm going to feel about the Giants all season long. The whole reason I'm wearing a Giants hat today is because I saw Susan Slusser put that up and I went, oh my God, baseball's already here. And I want to be optimistic about the Giants. I want to believe that, okay, Logan Webb is in the bank, starting with pitching. Logan Webb's in the bank, but then what? And when you have a question about your number 2 starter and your number 3 starter and your number 4 starter, your number 5 starter, maybe all of it comes true. But as you know, we have a philosophy on the show. The more ifs you have, the more iffy your team is. The more ifs you have, the more iffy your team is. So start with the rotation. If Justin Verlander, if Robbie Ray, if Kyle Harrison, if Mr. Birdsong, who else? If Jordan Hicks, there's a lot of ifs in the starting rotation, and it starts with the number 2 starter. 42-year-old Justin Verlander is a great name with a wonderful wife, but coming off a neck injury is not great. Now, if he was the guy 5 years ago, and maybe he's just going to make me look like a complete idiot. People do it all the time, but I just don't see it. I don't see him being able to do that. So the if starts at 2. Robbie Ray's coming off TJ still. He wasn't Robbie Ray. That first start, he was pretty good, and then he was just very inconsistent. He's getting up there in age. I don't love it. Kyle Harrison, I love the name, and I love everything about him, and I love the kid, and I love he's from Dela, and I love that he's local, but he hasn't proven it yet. And Birdsong has shown in stretches. What do you have, like a 12 strikeout game last year? Great. But they should have went out and got Jack Flaherty. I really believe that, who ended up going back to the Tigers for like a $17 million one-year deal. That would have really helped things. That would have put at least some more depth in your starting rotation. And when you're dealing with with the Dodgers, and I don't care what Larry Bear says, you are competing with the Dodgers. They're in your division. You can't just say, you know what, they got the division, it's over. And then you got to deal with 15 teams for the wild card? Like, that's not good math. So first of all, I want to be optimistic, but I'm not optimistic. And I think this is as optimistic as I'm going to be day one of spring training when pitchers and catchers report for the Giants. I hope I'm wrong. So that's my Giants thought. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. And then I saw this today, and this struck me the wrong way after I saw Susan Slusser say, and I love spring training. It is so cool. And if you have an opportunity to bring your kids and you're contemplating it, do it, man. It's the coolest thing. And they sign autographs, and it's awesome. I'll be down there probably the second or third week of spring training, and I'm going to take the show with me. It's going to be fun. But it's just an awesome experience. I can't even tell you how great it is to go down to spring training, how much fun it is, and guys are laid back. It's just awesome. Sitting on the lawn, having a beer, it's just a really cool experience that as a sports fan you should really go to. But then I saw this today, and it says, which star third baseman would you rather have for 2025? And I thought to myself, why not both? I like Tyler Fitzgerald a lot, but if you're not going to upgrade at first base, which it doesn't look like you're going to with Wade Jr. still there, and if you're not going to upgrade the offense in right field with Mike Yastrzemski, then you've got to have hammer offense everywhere else. You don't have a catcher that can hit. He's a great defender. I don't know if it's going to be Ramos for the first half or the second half of the year. I don't know what Jung-Hoo Lee can do. Some people are putting him in the bank, and I'm like, how could he possibly do that? He had a 641 OPS last year. He's a nice defender, but he hasn't proven it. He's coming over from Korea, and we have a very small sample size in players that come over from there. He hasn't proven anything. And then Mike Yastrzemski's an up-and-down hitter, really good above-average defensive right fielder, but if you had more bats in the lineup, you could deal with it. Or Lamont Wade Jr., who's not a middle-of-the-order guy. I love his on-base percentage, but I need more hits and more power for my first baseman. So here's my point. I've got a non-entity hitter as a catcher. I've got an iffy guy at first base. Tyler Fitzgerald is better served as a super U guy. I love Willie Adames. I like Matt Chapman. Ramos, I'm not sure if it's first half or second half. I don't know what I'm going to get out of Jung-Hoo Lee, who's essentially a rookie all over again because he missed the majority of the year. And I know that Yaz is a good defender and an up and down hitter. So that doesn't equal to me a team that is going to contend with the Dodgers or for a wild card. So then Alex Bregman is sitting out there. I'm sure that Bregman would take a high AAV to prove it again. And this is where some guys go. They did it last year. Didn't work late with Jorge Soler. Did with Chapman. Didn't with Snell. But you did this last year. You're far under the number. Don't give me this crap about money. You have money, lots of it. So put Bregman at second base. Bregman has said, they've talked to him, if you give Bregman, like everybody was so enamored with Pete Alonso, who ended up going back to the Mets for $2 and $54. Why wouldn't Pete come here for 1 year? Because he's going to be back on the market next year. He's going to opt out of that Mets deal. He's going to make $30 million this year, and he's going to opt out. And he's going to hit a bunch of home runs and do what he does and probably win a home run derby and be massively motivated. And then next offseason, he'll get a big deal. But he wasn't going to come here and do it in this park. There's no way. It'd be the last place that a make-good guy would want to go is Oracle Park. So he was never going to come here. But Bregman's a line drive guy. Bregman would come here if you pay him a bunch of money, which they have, and just same kind of a thing. Player option, a mutual option for the second year, make it a 1-year deal. And he plays second base. And he's a winner. And so all of a sudden your infield is, okay, it's Lamont Wade Jr. at first, but now you got a big-time offensive player at second base. Willie Adames, big-time offensive player at short. You got Chapman at third base. You got a non-entity hitter in Patrick Bailey, who's a nice defender. I can live with that. I don't know what, and I don't need to go through the outfield again. I just did. But then what Tyler Fitzgerald can be is great athlete, and I like the guy, and I'm not throwing him out of the picture, but what I'm saying is he can be super you. Sometimes second, sometimes short, sometimes center. Sometimes DH, whatever. He'll get plenty of at-bats. We know what the Super U position can do. He'll be in the lineup constantly. He'll get a bunch of at-bats. But Tyler Fitzgerald is better served as Super U. So now you've upgraded 2 positions. Now Alex Bregman can hit in the middle of your lineup along with Adames, and now your lineup is a lot better than it was last year. And Tyler Fitzgerald can be a Super U and play all over the place. Why not? Who says no to that? Give him a high AAV. Why aren't we talking about that? Buster, let's go. You've got tons of money under the number. You just gave Taylor Rodgers away to the Reds and saved $6 million. 1 year, high AAV. How about both? How about you want to compete? How about you want to win? Well, we can't compete with the Dodgers now. Alex Bregman's won multiple World Series. I don't care about trash cans and all that kind of stuff. He can play. And Tyler Fitzgerald's a Super U, second, short, third, center, wherever. DH. He can play all over the place. He'll get 500 at bats as a Super U. I shake my head and look at this and go, there's a guy right there. He's won at a really high level. He's a great clubhouse guy. He's clutch as hell. And you add another bat because you know what? Yeah, is second base screaming for you right now? No. But you can't find a first baseman and you can't find a right fielder that can hit, and your catcher doesn't hit. And I don't know about your left or center fielder. He's screaming for that. Like a 1 year high AAV for a position you can fill right there. There's another bat. Do you want to win or turn turnstiles, Giants? What do you want to do? Because I don't want this to be the most optimistic I'm going to be all season long. Woohoo! There's Scottsdale. That's going to be the stadium at the end of the year. That's going to be Oracle Park at the end of the year if you don't do something. Like we got other things we can do, man. I love Scottsdale. I love baseball. I'm a huge fan. I don't want to be negative about it, but when I saw this thing, I thought to myself, how about both? How about Bregman at second and Tyler Fitzgerald as a Super U? How about a guy that has won at a really high level and can help the clubhouse and can help young players? If you want to develop young players, a Chapman is a great guy for that. A Adames is a great guy for that. But this is a guy who's won multiple World Series and knows what it takes and went to a great college program at LSU. That guy's a winner. Find a way. And he's not totally reliant on home runs. He's not Pete Alonso, and it's another right-handed stick. It's not easy to hit the ball out of this park, but it's a lot easier as a right-hander than a left-hander. There's no discussion. There's no discussion. And this isn't like, it's not meant to be like a rip session on the Giants, but it's like, I don't understand it. I don't understand what they're trying to do. Aren't you trying to win? Didn't Buster say he wanted character guys? And I'm not ripping on Buster quite yet. But I thought you wanted character guys and winning guys. That's a character guy. That's a winning guy. That's a guy who's gotten tons of clutch hits in his life. That's a guy that's going to help your clubhouse culture. That's a guy that's going to help your young guys. Garbage cans be damned. I don't care. I want to win. And if I'm the Giants and if I'm Buster, I'm going to the powers that be at the front and said, look, man, I'm sure they had this discussion with Buster. Are you going to give me the resources to win? Yes, we are, Buster. We just gave you Willie Adames. That's not enough. And you can't just sit there year after year and just give the division to the Giants. Okay, let's start the season knowing that the best we can do is second place. Oh, that's where the Diamondbacks are. Oh, that's where the Padres are. The best you can do is fourth place. The best we can do is hope for that last wild card spot. There's a guy right there that's won a ton that can play second base. They can make Tyler Fitzgerald a super U, which strengthens that position and strengthens your whole roster. Guys hurt, which happens over 162 games. You need depth. So I got a starting staff that's if after Logan Webb. I got a lineup that doesn't have enough juice whatsoever, even with Adames. And all of a sudden, the middle of my lineup could be something along the lines of Bregman, Adames, Chapman. I mean, now you're cooking with some gas. Now you got something here. At least you got a middle of the lineup that's not embarrassing. And I don't expect you to go out and be the Dodgers. But a 1 year with a player with a mutual option that he'll never see in the second year, you've got the money. That's not an issue. What's the issue? You don't like Alex Bregman? You don't like winners? You don't like guys who are going to set the culture? You don't like guys who are going to help your clubhouse win, that have won, that are going to help young players, that kind of thing? What? Because he bashed a couple of trash can lids together? Sorry, I don't mean to go on a rant. I don't mean spring training day one to be negative, but my God, what are you waiting for? Like, there's a guy right there who can help you, and he'll play second. Like, no big deal. High AAV 1 year. No, nobody wants to do that. All right, let me go. Do people like baseball talk? And I'm in a ranty mood today, but I saw that and I'm just like, why either or? Like, why either or? That's both. Like, if I'm Matt Chapman and I see that, I'm texting Larry Bear or texting Buster Posey going, hey, guys, this guy's a winner. He's exactly what we need. Just for a year to see where it goes and see what happens. We don't have to make this a 7-year contract. But I heard that, what is it? The Cubs, the Blue Jays, there was like, Morosi said there was a few teams in on him. And I'm thinking to myself, why are the Giants not on that list? They're not going to be the Dodgers. They're not going to be the Phillies. They're not going to spend the money. I get it, but they're way under the number. Way under the number. And this is not a knock at Tyler Fitzgerald because he'll get 500 at bats still. So, killing me. Just killing me. And I love baseball too, man. I love baseball. And I'm probably one of the rare people that whether they win or not, I love going out to the sun. I love drinking beers in the sun. I love eating hot dogs. I'll go. The park is just absolutely 100% amazing. But it's like, it really frustrates you. And you can probably hear it in my voice. It frustrates you when your team is, okay, they're not going to do everything they can to win. They're not going to be the Dodgers and just, pile it on. Okay, they got Suzuki, then they got Tanner Scott. Oh, my God. And they already got Blake Snell. Like, I don't expect them to do that. I get it. I know where they are. But to seed the division every year and then to have a guy like this sit out there because what, you're afraid he's going to be Jorge Soler or he's going to be Blake Snell? He's not going to be that. You got him right now. He's got plenty of time to be ready for opening day and be your starting second baseman. And Tyler Fitzgerald can fit in. I got news for you. There's going to be injuries. Guys are going to go down. You're going to need depth. You're going to need a utility guy. Tyler Fitzgerald is going to play a number of games, even if it's not second base. Like, if I'm Buster, I am pounding the table to the powers that be to say, you said I would have resources. This guy's a winner. I've heard over and over and over again. And Buster was this kind of guy. I want guys who win. I want culture guys. What's that guy? Dictionary definition of that. Nah. I don't know how you can sell this to your fans year after year after year. Hang in there. That whole thing. I don't know how you do it. That's a good call right there. Oracle's the draw, not the Giants. You're right. But when they were winning and there was 40,000 people every night, it was really fun. It was really, really fun. And I'm not a ranter or a raver or anything like that. And I'm not sports radio guy in terms of what's unrealistic. I'm not going to sit there just to get clicks and listens and all these kind of things and sit there and say, God, they should really player X. I was never pounding the table for Pete Alonso. I saw the fit and I understand why people were, because they needed an upgrade offensively at first base. But I knew it was going to be a short deal, which is what he ended up. It's a 1-year deal with the Mets for $30 million is what it is. He wants to reestablish his value, go back out to the market. He was never going to do that here. Scott Boras is like, no. You're not going to establish your value again here. But Alex Bregman is a spray line drive hitter that can hit 20, 25 home runs from the right side. There's no question. but it's the culture fit. It's the ability to have depth on this team. You're going to put them in the middle of the, Jake Lamb. Who just put that up there? At least we got Jake Lamb. Thanks, Fosse. Like Jake Lamb. I mean, it's like Farhan's already here. Farhan's already here. But that's all they're doing is churning the bottom of the roster again. Hey, look I went to Marshall's and look what I got for $18. Great, man. You got a pair of the Pete Carroll Nikes. What are those called? The Monarchs. You got a pair of those for $18. Congratulations. I'll never wear those. Like, why? You got plenty of those guys churning the bottom of the roster constantly. It's not doing anything for your fan base. You got Willie Adamas. Everybody got excited, and then that was the rest of the offseason. Literally. Is that really what they told Buster? Like, we'll give you one big one, and that's it, man. You're done. I mean, I'm sure Buster said, we're going to do more. We're going to have more. I'm sure the front office told Buster, man, purse strings are open. We got you, man. You got rid of Tyler. You got rid of Rodgers. You saved $6 million. I'll give Farhan credit. He got somebody to take Jorge Soler's contract. Like, there's not a lot of money here. You look at your rotation. You're paying Logan Webb a decent amount of money, but not outrageous. Verlander's making $15 million. That's not outrageous. Robbie Ray's in the 20s, probably overpaid. After that, you're not paying any of your starters anything. You're not paying your relievers a ton of money. Who's making money on this roster? Chapman's making a decent amount. Adamas is making a decent amount. Your catcher isn't making anything. He's not even ARB eligible. Fitzgerald's not making anything. Lamont Wade's making a few bucks, not much. Yaz is making probably too much, not a ton. Your center fielder's making a good amount of money. Ramos is not even ARB eligible. Like, you've got money. And I keep saying this, you're the largest single market team in the sport. New York's got 2, LA's got 2, Chicago's got 2, then you, the Bay Area. One team. And it's not just this year. The A's haven't been relevant in years. And now they're in Sacramento, completely out of the market. What are you doing? Oh, we can't win. We can't catch the Dodgers, so let's just wait. 1-year deal for Bregman. That's it. See, show your fan base, tell your fan base, re-energize your fan base to say, we are trying to win. We aren't just trying to turn turnstiles around here. Well, because right now, you are trying to turn turnstiles. That's all you're trying to do. You're not trying to win. The Giants are not trying to win. And this is not some rant or rave or, all these unrealistic guys and do this trade and get that guy and blah, 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 which we always do. This is not sports radio fodder. This is a guy sitting out there that has exactly what you need and exactly what Buster Posey said they were going to get. A guy with championship experience, a guy who's going to help in the clubhouse, a guy who can still play, a guy where you could use the second baseman. Bregman can play second base, and then you can move Fitzgerald all around. I'm done. But my God, when I see stuff like that, that threw me off, where I go into Susan Susser and I go, day one, oh man, I love spring training. And then literally the very next tweet I saw was this, and I went, why not both? Why not both? Oh yeah, we're in Milwaukee or Pittsburgh. Oh no, we're not. We're not in Milwaukee or Pittsburgh or Minnesota. We're not. We're not in Cincinnati. We're not. We're a major market. Nah. We're the biggest single market team in Major League Baseball. Nah. It's cool, man. We don't need to be good. They'll still come out because, like you said, the park is awesome. The park is what sells. We don't need to do this. We don't need to have any good players. Why would we do that? That's stupid. The park is our guy. The park is our star. The park we signed on a long-term deal, which you've already paid off, by the way. Okay. Stop it, Lund. Stop it. Spring training day 1 is where we are on the chalkboard. Bregman, we're at the random part of the show. This is going to get a little bit weird. So let me just, especially this next one. So before I calm myself down, hang on. And I get it. I love the other opinion. I get you, Tacky. I completely understand. Hang on a second. These things move, and then by the time I get to click them, they move. Our friend Tacky says, I don't see it with Bregman. I get it, man. I really do. I understand if that's your thought. All I'm simply saying is that everything Buster said he wanted, guys who set culture, guys who win, guys who demand things out of their teammate, that's what Bregman is. He's perfect with that. And although he's not the player that he was, he's a 20 home run guy, gets on base, drives guys in, culture setter, big time guy with runners in scoring position. He can play. He's a really good player. And I'm not signing him to a 3, 5, 7 year contract. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying a lot of times with a free agent, it's where your team is. Like, where are they in the process, right? They need a Bregman. They need a another guy in the clubhouse. They need a professional. They need a guy who can drive in a key run. How many times did the Giants last year need a key hit and couldn't get it? The sacrifice fly and couldn't get it. Like, this is what this guy does. His impact goes beyond the numbers. He's one of those guys. He's like Chapman, to be honest with you. He's a really good defensive player. He demands things out of his teammates. He loves the game. He's a bulldog kind of a guy. He's one of those kind of guys you want to have on your team. And and I get it, Tacky, you're saying I just don't see it with Bregman. I'm not disagreeing with you completely. I'm not at all. And if you don't want Bregman, I totally get it. If you're against Bregman because he was on the Astros and everybody hated the Astros for a period of time, I get it. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm saying where the Giants are in their process, and they've got a lot of young, impressionable players. Bregman for a year at a high AAV at just 1 year would be a great signing, like Chapman was last year for the Giants. I think he's a Chapman-esque kind of a player in the way that he sets a tone, in the defense that he plays, in the key hits that he gets, and even at a higher level than what Chapman is. I'd rather have, if given that question, I'd rather have Chapman over Bregman. But what I'm saying is they can afford both, and that's the type of player. I don't know who that is calling me. Don't they know that I'm in a radio show right now, or a YouTube show right now? But he is what Chapman was last year to me. And that's the kind of guys I'm saying it as well, because like I said, I keep saying this, but Buster said these are the kind of players he wanted. He wanted winners. And what else is that guy? So I get it. If people aren't down with it, I totally get it. All right, let's go to the random portion of the show, which I haven't done as much random today, and I'd like to apologize for that. I did start with the spring training story of getting locked into Scottsdale Stadium. We've done a little bit, but not nearly enough for my liking. Far too serious, far too ranty. Although I felt like with the Aaron Rodgers thing, it's so stupid, and I had to talk about betting candy and how if Vegas had to if Vegas set game lines like they set these odds for like Aaron Rodgers plus 350 the night, they'd be out of business. They don't. It's sports betting candy and clickbait, and everybody always talks about it. So I started with that and Brock and went into this thing of the Giants. I didn't think I'd get I'm not angry or upset. I just didn't think I would get so ranty about maybe even preachy about the Giants thing, but it just pisses me off when they act like they're the A's or Milwaukee or Minnesota or, those kind of teams, even though Milwaukee and Minnesota are better. But I mean, you're in baseball, like the small market and the big market, there's a clear difference. And while you're not the Dodgers, you're not the Brewers or the Twins either, or the Royals. Like you gotta do better. You just got to do better. You got to do better. When a guy's sitting out there like that, good teams take advantage. Like if the Dodgers weren't so stacked and got basically everybody this offseason, they'd go after Bregman, because it just makes a ton of sense, because they're a winning organization. He's a winning player. They can get him on a short-term contract, which is what the Giants do. They don't want to sign anybody to a long-term deal, really. Certainly not double digits for position players. Certainly not more than 5 years for a pitcher. I mean, that's kind of self-imposed with them. And here's a guy that would probably do it on a one-year deal and who's a winner. And it's like, huh? And they have plenty of money. There's not a lot of guys making a bunch of money on this team. They don't have a $30 million pitcher, let alone 3 like the Dodgers do. They don't. There's not a bunch of guys making money in their position player group. Adames is making a lot of money. That's about it. Nobody else is making outrageous money on the Giants. And I'm not asking him to just throw it at the moon like Farhan did the last 2 years because he was so friggin' desperate because he knew his job was on the line. It's not that. But I can guarantee you that Buster's probably not happy, because you don't think Buster, as smart as he is, knowing what winning players look like and what he's done, and he played against a guy like Alex Bregman, like you don't think he's walked into the powers that be around the big mahogany table to say, hey, this would be a nice signing, and they went, go away. We already gave you your allowance. And that was Willie Adames. I don't know why I'm talking like that. Willie Adames, that was it. We told you. Like, that was a quick honeymoon. Geez, I thought we were going to spend some money here. Yeah, we gave you Adames. Yeah, but I thought you told me we were going to do more, and I told Willie we were going to do more. Yeah, sorry, honeymoon's over. All right, random. I've never watched a dog show in my life, but what's funny is my wife tells me I should do this, and I should have done this before. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. But I don't know if your dog is like this. Our dog loses his friggin' mind every time he sees an animal on TV. So he'll be sitting there on the couch with us, and we'll be hanging out, and all of a sudden he goes bananas. And it used to just be dogs, but now it's like dogs, cats, bears, like anything on the screen that is an animal that is not a human being, he barks at. And I mean, mercilessly, like gets on his hind legs, starts freaking out and trying to get to the TV. And he thinks he is the most not guard dog I've ever seen in my life. but I think he thinks that somehow someone's attacking the family, and he's a mini Bernedoodle. And what he believes is, and he does not look like a poodle, so don't give me that. He's a Bernese Mountain Dog and a poodle mix, and I'm not a poodle guy, but he doesn't look like a poodle, or we wouldn't have him. He's hyperallergenic. Our kids are allergic, all that kind of stuff. He's awesome. He's just an awesome dog, but he thinks he's a protector of the house, which he is in by no means. If someone broke into our house, he would lick them to death. That would be the only thing he could do. Like, he barks a really loud, like, roar, like it sounds like really intimidating, but it's not. But he thinks that the people on the TV are coming to attack us, and he's protecting us in all ways possible. So, like a dog show or something, I can't put a dog show on in my house. And I've never understood. I don't know anything, even though I've watched Best in Show, which is a hilarious movie. But I don't know how the judging works. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of politics. I don't understand. I think people who raise dogs like this, it's kind of a weird thing to me. But anyway, let me show this to you real quick, and then we can have a discussion. So Fox, I guess, FS1 or something. I have no idea if they get any ratings out of this whole thing, but this is FS1 and some schnauzer. Like this dog is giant for a schnauzer, by the way. I didn't know that this was even a breed, but it's like a giant schnauzer wins Best of Show, and then we need to talk about it. Here you go. The dog's looking at her like, "Why are you bawling? What is wrong with you? Like, what's going on? What the hell?" Like, I have so many questions about it because, first of all, I don't even know how that started. I'm sure people know a lot more because I don't know a lot. I'm not sitting here acting like I'm an expert on dog shows. This is complete novice kind of stuff that I'm going to talk about, and probably low hanging fruit and very obvious to a lot of people. But I don't know how dog shows started. Number two, and I have watched dog shows before just because I think it's fascinating, and I'm a big fan of dogs. But, like, I don't know what they're looking for. Like, I can see the grooming, and they open their mouth and they look at their teeth. Like, I get it. I guess, they have handlers. So that's not the owner right there, but that's probably the handler. And she's bawling because, that's her whole life right there. And I don't know how much. I have no clue what. Does anybody know, like, if your dog wins Best in Show at the 149th annual Westminster Dog Show or whatever, is that lucrative? Like, do they make a lot of money? I wonder how much the dog is aware that, this whole thing is going on. Like, they go through these like obstacle courses and jump in the way, I guess it's based too on how they walk. Like, they're very prancy, like all that kind of stuff, but not too prancy. But then you got to stay in line, but you got to show some personality. Like, I have no idea the scoring. Like, it probably puts boxing to shame. Like, you look at boxing, you're like, clearly that guy won the round. Like, I'm watching it and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, that's a nice shiny coat, trimmed up pretty nice, got a pretty nice haircut there. Tail's looking good, I guess. Wagging good. I guess those teeth, he grab his mouth. He's got these teeth. Oh, those are good shiny teeth. Those are looking good, man. Lots of milk or whatever they give him. Shiny coat. Love that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what they're looking for. And I don't know if it's lucrative. And I just think the whole thing is weird. Like, if you looked at, like, when they were all on the knee, got the one bald guy, and, it's a very highbrow sport, or sports. It's not even a sport, whatever it is. Hobby. It's very highbrow, and being a dog trainer and from certain bloodlines and all these kind of things. And I mean, we paid a lot for our dog. I got to be honest. I got a great, in fact, I should bring him in here and show you him. He's cool. But the story on my dog was, when we got him, is that we weren't looking for a dog at all. And we were moving into the house that we're in now. And so we were at of all places, a tile store in Danville. And we were looking at different tile and all this kind of stuff. We were redoing our house a couple of years ago and moving into the house. And so it's a complete dumpster fire, but we weren't in the house yet. We had bought it, but they're doing all the renovations. The kitchen is torn apart, all this kind of stuff. So we would go down from our house that we were living in down to this new house every single day. And we'd do work and we'd watch stuff and everything. But anyway, we're out doing that fun stuff where you're running around getting tile and carpets and different types of things and picking out this, that, and the other countertops. So anyway, we go into this tile store. And for my stepchildren, they're both allergic to dogs. So it's got to be everything. It's got to be hyperallergenic. It's got to be this. They'll bring on hives and all this kind of stuff. So we're at this tile store, and he had these. I didn't know what they were, Bernedoodles, in which, like I said, they're this really cool breed. They're really nice, really cool, real laid back. They're hyperallergenic. So we walk in there. Dogs are the last thing on our mind, and they're like black, brown, white. They're all these different colors, and he's showing us different things, and we see these dogs back there, and we're like, "What's the deal with these guys?" And it's like a Saturday afternoon or something. He's like, "Oh yeah, I do dog breeding on the." I do dog breeding on the side. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's weird, but okay. And then one of them, all the rest of them are like black and white. They're really cool looking, but they're black and white. And there was one that had a bunch of brown, and apparently for that type of dog, that's very rare. And he just kind of connected with us. And they were probably like 8 weeks old. So it was great because they were kind of potty trained. And so I kept asking him questions. So he's potty trained. Yeah. Is he hyperallergenic? Yeah, 100%, hyperallergenic. Is he this? And just everything kept making sense. And like I said, the last thing we needed was a dog because we're going between two houses. We kind of half of our stuff is out, but we hadn't had the movers yet. We sure as hell. And we got, me and 2 stepchildren and my wife, and, stuff is everywhere because we're moving and there's boxes and all this stuff. Last thing we need is a 7-week-old dog. So anyway, we like him and he's cool and everything. We talk about the tile. And at the end, we leave, and before we go, we said, well, what's the deal on this dog? And he said, well, we got somebody coming over at 5:00 to look at him. If you call me before then the dog is yours. But if you guys want to think about it, completely understand it. By the way, the dog's like $4,000. That was another thing. Like $4,000. What are you kidding me? So anyway, we leave the place because we're throwing money around like Monopoly money anyway, because we're redoing this house. It was when I had a job. And so we're doing all this kind of stuff. And we were going out to dinner with some friends that night. And my wife and I talked about it, whatever. And so, she starts getting ready. I thought the thing was dead and done. So she starts getting ready, and, I'm having a drink downstairs or whatever, and she comes out of the shower at 4:55 p.m. 4:55 p.m. And I don't know, she must have sat in the shower and was thinking about it. So I'm having a drink downstairs waiting for her or whatever, and all of a sudden she yells down the stairs, I want that dog! And I'm like, I walk upstairs, I go, excuse me? She goes, I want that dog. We have to have that dog. Call the guy about the dog. So at this point now, it's like 4:57, right? 4:58. I mean, I'm not kidding you. And so I called the guy, and I couldn't get through to him. And I left a voicemail and everything. And, texted him, left him a voicemail, said, hey, we want the dog. We really want the dog. And, we'd love to have it. Because, like I said, someone was coming over at 5:00 to look at it. And he said they were very interested. Maybe he was just being a good sales guy. So I can't get a hold of him. And we're about ready to leave. It's like maybe 10 or, no, it didn't take her 15 minutes to get ready. It might have been like 20 after 5. She still wasn't ready. And I get a text back from the guy who said, if you want him, he's yours. And so I text back, yep, in capital letters. I said, yep, we want him. And so what we were going to do is, Saturday night, she's all excited. And when we're going to go down there on Sunday to the tile store where you pick up dogs and buy dogs all the time, back down to that tile store to say, we want to give it a trial, and just, we'll come back and, and get him. But the kids were so excited because they didn't know we were looking at dogs. And like typical kids, they were just like, we want a dog, we want a dog, we want a dog, we want a dog. We're like, no. Especially now. We said, when we get in the house and we get established and settled, then we'll look at dogs. Because there's only a certain amount, because, again, they're allergic. So this one was hyperallergenic and everything else. So we go, and we go over to her ex-husband's to pick up the kids, and we have the dog in the car. First of all, the dog is nervous. I could tell that. It was a Sunday morning, and we were going to give him back. Like, we'll show him to everybody, then we'll give him back to you, and then we'll come get him in a couple of weeks when we get in the house. Because right now we just cannot have the dog around because we're basically between two houses, and it's a dumpster fire, and the other house has stuff and kitchens and everything's everywhere. So just give us a couple of weeks, and we'll come get the dog. So first of all, I was smart enough to put down a tarp because I knew he was going to be nervous and puke or crap or whatever. And sure enough, the minute we go away, it's in the back of an SUV. I put down like a tarp. And all of a sudden, how puppy crap, how it smells like death? I mean, real death. Death smells better. And even like it could be a hot day in the summer and you could have a dead person in the back of your car and it would smell better than what this was. I mean, diarrhea, the whole thing. Within a minute. And I'm like, And so, we have to throw that away and everything and hope the dog doesn't do it again, which he didn't. He settled down, but he was a little nervous for a minute. And then, the kids see the dog, they freak out. We call the guy like a minute later. Yeah, he's not coming back to you. Like, we're not giving this dog up. We can't. So anyway, the next couple of weeks after that, we had the dog didn't know which way it was up, but we kept the dog and everything's cool. And life ever after. If my wife had someone to kick to the curb and it was between me and the dog, or, that old game where it's like you can save one person, they're hanging from a cliff, even though I don't think my dog could grab, she would save the dog 10 times out of 10 instead of me. So that brings us up to the Westminster Dog Show, which I have no idea. Look at that giant schnauzer, by the way. That is a big dog. I mean, he's good looking, great looking. The tail's at par, I guess. Ears look good. I bet his teeth were outstanding. Got a nice prance to him. Perfectly cut, I'm sure. Looking at him, he's even almost got like a smile on his face. That's a nice walk. I mean, I don't know. How would I commentate? That's the schnauzer. Look at the guy right there, closest to us with the white, whatever that dog is. And then the others are all mad. Like, what did the tiny little white dog what did he not have? Like, I'd like to do an interview with the judges. So yeah, the giant schnauzer, I understand, Fido the schnauzer was amazing, but what did the other one not have? What did Grover not have? Like, I don't know, whatever the name is. I have no idea what they're looking for with dogs. I mean, to a certain extent, I do. But anyway, there's that giant schnauzer. That's a good looking dog. Good looking dog. So dog show, hacked email. So thank God I was up because I was being sales guy yesterday. So you wear all these different hats. Let me take this Giants hat off, pitches and catches report today, and let me be sales guy. So one of the reasons I had to leave the show early was I'm sales guy, and you have certain appointments and certain things, and you're trying to get people to sponsor the show and all that kind of stuff. Because as much as I like doing this every single day, and I don't just like it, I love it. And I love everything about it and the platform and being able to say stuff and building this community like we do every single day with all the different people. Antonio is here and AJ Cruz and Pine Needle and Mike and Chris and all these 59, which is it really 84 and all these and Joy and Sports Girl for Life and all these and Hurley Bird and all these people that come in every single day. And I just love building this community. We're having a great time with it. I do have to pay a bill or two, according to my wife. So I've got to do everything on the side. You got to do everything when you're doing this, which I absolutely enjoy and love the challenge of all of it on and off the air and all the pre-production, post-production, all this stuff. I'm a one-man show right now. So it's cool. And I'm not complaining. I love learning all this stuff. I tell everybody that I talk to, ever since I was let go by KNBR in November, I've learned like 25 different languages, all the different things you have to do. And I don't mean just sales, but I started on a different platform with this whole thing. I've changed it over, which I think is better. And I've just learned, I didn't know what I didn't know. I've learned so many things, but yesterday it was like, I had these sales calls and different presentations that you have to do and all the things. So I had to leave the show early. So I was up doing things for the show and getting ready for today's show. And it was probably 1:30 in the morning. And, when you get email, like I said, I got a laptop here, two iPads, a desktop, and TVs there. So I'm looking at 50 different things. So when I'm working in the middle of the night, like I was at maybe like 1:30 in the morning this morning, I get ding, when you get an email, and instinctively you just turn and find out what it is. And my email had been forwarded. My personal email, they had said that, someone put a forward on it. So in other words, they're getting my email and trying to hack things. And then what they had done was they had tried to get into my Amazon account. And what they did was they went in there and then they put in a code. Like, so, for you to get into my, it's like, okay, yeah, your password is wrong for Amazon, but we'll send you a code to your email so that you can, and when you get that code, then you can sign in, and then they could sign into my Amazon, and then they could just go bonkers. And they do it in the middle of the night. They don't think that you're up at 1:30 in the morning, right? So I get this thing last night that says someone has forwarded email, and then seconds later that they had sent an email to what they thought was going to be themselves from Amazon so that then they could get this code and sign into my Amazon, but they needed my email to get it. So what happens is that I get that thing that my email was forwarded, and it said, if you didn't do this, you better look into your email. So sure enough, I go to my email, and somebody with some wacky email address had forwarded my email to them. And then right after that had put in that Amazon thing to be sent, a code to be sent to the email so that they could then get into my Amazon and start going bonkers. And they figured, any sane person would be asleep at like 1:30 in the morning. Right. So I quickly, undo the mail forwarding. I change my password, and then I go into Amazon. I change my password there. And it's just, this happens to me. I don't know if it happens to you. I mean, this happens probably every 3 months. My wife got majorly hacked on a credit card recently. Like, I don't know what it is. If we're not ahead of the hackers, like, they always talk about, are you ahead of the drug guys? Are you ahead of, like, sports wise? Are you ahead of the people trying to cheat? Never. When it comes to the fight against drugs and all that kind of stuff, are we ever ahead of that? No. Like, we are definitely not ahead of the hackers anymore, because it's, it used to be like, if you feel confident, like, I never put my credit card into anything. If I do, it's a credit card that I could shut off or something like that, and not my main, like, debit card. Like, I never put my debit card on anything anymore. not that I have a ton of money in there, but they could they wipe you out. And it's like, how did they get the email thing? And then they were smart enough to go, he'll never even see it. Cause if I hadn't been up at 1:30 in the morning, all of a sudden they would have, so all my mail would be getting forwarded. I wouldn't be getting any email because this happened to me once before. And like, I wasn't getting email. Like it had like a couple of days. I was like, what's going on? So I signed into my email and sure enough, it's like, oh, these got forwarded to this address and they were getting all my email. And then what they were doing was they were trying to hack into other things that I had. And then the codes like, oh, you can't get in here. I'll send a code to your email. And they'd send a code to my email, which they had forwarded to them. It's like, wow, man, it's slick. So anyway, it's crazy, man. Be careful with your stuff, I guess is my point of that. It's like, if I wasn't up at 1:30 in the morning, I wouldn't have gotten that. And what they could have done is, I usually get up about 5:30 in the morning. So what they could have done is in that 4-hour period, they could have spent a gazillion dollars or as much as money as I have. So like $29.67 on Amazon, going nuts. Like, what? All right. So there's that. Let's see. Yeah. I don't know what it is between the phone hacks, kid, and your wife. Your life is never boring. I think I'm pretty typical. I mean, do other people get hacked or no? Because it seems like it happens to me like quite often. Yeah, I threw my phone. That was stupid. Didn't have it. Plus, don't throw your phone on a Friday. That's the problem too. I threw it on a Thursday, but then I didn't get over to the place until like after 4:00. And they're like, oh, if it's after 4:00, then it's going to be Monday because it takes like, I don't know, 24 hours, but unless it's a Friday. And so I had to get that done by Thursday at 4:00 and I didn't. So I didn't have a phone all weekend, which to be honest with you was not the worst thing in the world. Like we think we have to have our phones like surgically attached to us and we don't. Like you survive. Like people were like, hey, I tried to call you over the weekend. And I'm like, I looked at that specific person. Hope they're not watching. And I said, thought to myself, didn't need to get your call. I'm fine. I didn't miss one thing. I really didn't. I didn't think it was, I didn't think so. I was like, Like you always think you have to get everything right. And that's kind of what people expect. Doesn't that suck that we're kind of at everyone's beck and call now? Like, hey, bro, I texted you 90 seconds ago. What, no response? Like, how great was it back in the day? I'm going to show my age. Back in the day where it was like you had a home phone. You didn't have a cell phone. Maybe you had email or something like that, but you checked it every once in a while on AOL when on a dial-up. It was like, like nowadays it's like, dude, you have it on your phone. Like you have a text on your phone. You have an email on your phone. You get alerts like I just did. I'll tell you about an alert that I got at 1:30 in the morning. Like, whoa, what's going on? Why don't you get back to me? Like if you don't get, I don't know, what's the time limit on a text? Like if somebody doesn't get back to you on a text, depending on how complicated the text is, but if somebody doesn't get back to you on a text within like 5 minutes, you start going, if it was important. Like a lot of times I'll text somebody and go, hey, it's not that big of a deal. Just want you to know this or that. So there's not an urgency to it. But if you send a text that needs a response or has some sort of urgency or something like that, and you don't get something back in 5 minutes, you start getting pissed nowadays. An email, that could be longer because, but still it's on your phone. It's not like it used to be where it's like, my computer and blah, blah. It's like, dude, your email's right on your phone and you get an alert. Don't give me that. Like, I know that if you have your phone, and you do have your phone, and it drives you crazy with kids. Because with kids, like, you'll be texting them, and then you'll ask them some question like, how are your grades? Like, hey, Dad, I need money. Okay, boo. I give right back to him, this and that. All these things. Like yesterday, speaking of Amazon, I send him, like, care packages all the time of, bars and protein shakes and all these kind of stuff. And so yesterday he texted me, and he goes, hey, man, could you and I just do a reorder on Amazon, so it's really easy. So he goes, hey, man, could you send me that care package with the bars and all that kind of stuff? He goes, I'm getting a little bit low. And I go, no problem. So I go on there. I send them just in one button because you can do that kind of stuff. And I text him. I go, hey, sent you the bars, sent you everything. And then nothing. Like not a thanks, not a that, not a that. And so, I'm one of those guys after about, I don't know, an hour or something like that. And I know he's got class, so I'm not going to, if it's not 5 minutes, but it was probably, I don't know, it wasn't an hour. It's probably like 2 hours later. I wrote thanks in like 8 question marks, like thanks. Like, could you maybe say thanks? And then he's like, oh, yeah, thanks. Like, it's just, and I know your phone is like right there. Like if a girl texts you or it was something that you wanted, or if it was like, hey, we're going out tonight, or, that text is like, boom, 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 like right away. You see the bubbles right away. Like you text somebody and here come, like, hey, man, come over right now. I got something for you. Or, hey, if you do this, I'll give you a bunch of money. Bubbles like instantaneous, like bubbles right away because they have it. Like kids are, that's the only thing I'm like, he's doing really good in a lot of different ways. But I said, as you grow up into an adult, people expect you to get back to them. Like, grandma get you something nice for Christmas or something. I go, you texted her back, right? And he's like, yeah. And then I'll text my mom and go, has he texted you? No. Like just basic stuff. He'll learn it, but he's not a great texter. Maybe he's not Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo, text wise, world famous and just not getting back to anybody. Like off season, anybody. Greg Papa used to say I was a bad texter. He's a bad texter, and he never answers his phone. And we can get into that whole thing too. I mean, my God. I would agree with you. Yeah, no doubt. Look, especially at his age, girls are a higher priority, friends are a higher priority. Like, I know where I'm in the pecking order, even though I'm financing his life. I understand. I really do. I completely understand where I sit in the pecking order at this particular point. I'll get back up there into, his inner circle and the graces after a while. Kids get a little bit older and they realize when they start to do these things, like, oh my God, that's what happens. That's what my dad was going through. That's what so I get it. I get it. But still, every once in a while you can text me back. And when I do get not mad, but just kind of do one of those things like, thanks, I'll get something like 1 second later. Like, no. I really appreciate it. No, yeah. It doesn't count. If I have to prod you, it doesn't doesn't count. Is that something good? Is LifeLock something I should have? I hear that all the time, like LifeLock, and they do all those commercials. And I'm like, because that's something I need. But because I have alerts on everything. Like if there's a purchase on my my debit card over like, I don't know, $5, it alerts me. Like that's how paranoid I am because I've been hacked so many times. Like I am paranoid. They put woke up 20 people. I've had that happen. In fact, you know what, Daniel? Thanks for joining me. I had, what one time happened to me? I did the same thing. I took a nap, but I had left my this used to happen all the time, and I never do this. I left Twitter open. So I'm in the studio and everybody uses the same equipment. I never anymore because when I would go into the studio, I would have a laptop and a iPad. I wouldn't even use the company computers anymore. For other reasons too, because the things I would look up and was like the alarms that start going off. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm like, what? I can't go to that website here. So I would just have my own stuff. But back in the day, guys would use the company computers. There's a couple in front of you, and I only use them for like commercials or something. I don't use it for my own personal thing. But I left Twitter up one time, and I can't remember who was. It could have been Damon. It might have been Brandon Tierney for all I know, but it was years and years ago. And I left it up. I left my Twitter up. And so generally speaking, most people with a fair amount of maturity level I've never done this, would just sign you out. Right. I mean, it's your branding. I don't want to mess with your branding. You left it open. Ha ha ha. But I might do something like, oh, Lund is the greatest thing ever. Like something funny like that. And people are like, what is that? And it's like, oh, you were clearly Lund did something, whatever. So I get home, I take a nap, and I wake up, and my Twitter is just full, just completely full. I'm like, what is going on? And one of those guys had said something to the extent of, and this is when the Jamarcus Russell thing was still raging hot and all that kind of stuff. And somebody said, it was something along the lines of Jamarcus Russell is the greatest quarterback of all time. He just didn't get the opportunity. That it almost sounded like I actually meant that. And anybody who knew and would listen to the show, the radio show on a regular basis, I never was a Jamarcus fan. It wasn't when they drafted him, all that kind of stuff. I was never a Jamarcus guy ever. And so it just basically said, I've changed my tune. He's a great guy. People were wrong on him. The purple drink, this, that, and the other. Jamarcus Russell could have been one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but the Raiders are a terrible organization. And I think we were carrying the Raiders at the time. And Raider Nation just went bananas. I mean, they just went crazy. They thought I wrote, seriously, thousands just, I hate you. You're stupid. What a moron. Like I had to delete it and actually apologize to people. Like if you're going to do something funny, I get it. But it was just this whole rant about how great Jamarcus Russell was. And if it wasn't for the Raiders and he actually did work hard and all these other people were wrong. And I'm just like, oh my God, people were just losing their minds. And that wasn't so much a hack as it was a joke. And believe me, I can take a joke. And I wasn't mad about it, but it was that took probably months of people still coming at me going, well, your thing on Jamarcus. I'm like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that Jamarcus was good. I never liked Jamarcus. No. I didn't. So anyway, Vegas, my buddy left his phone unattended. I hopped on his swiped on a bunch of dudes. For years, he'd be in Vegas and randomly match with a dude. I mean, that kind of stuff's funny, right? I mean, I guess it does throw the algorithm off, though, right? That's your point, is it throws the algorithm off. And so for years, it's like you're getting all these different things, and you worked really hard to like have the algorithm go a certain way and match you with certain people. Because after a while, it's like, oh, okay, you're matching with this. Then you throw a curveball at them, and then you start matching with other people and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, no, totally threw this algorithm off. But but it's at least it's not like a public thing. Like my whole thing. And again, I wasn't pissed, but I was just like, because I woke up and I'm like, what did I do? Did I say something stupid? Am I getting canceled? Like that was before getting canceled, but like, what is going on? And yeah, everybody thought I loved Jamarcus Russell. I'm like, I do not love Jamarcus Russell. Stop it. All right. Did I play everything today? Played to the dog show, which I think is totally weird. The owner of the Mavs, the Warriors play the Mavs tonight. This is going to be fun. And now, let's start for your Dallas Mavericks. Can you imagine the PA guy trying to do that? He's trying to, because Anthony Davis isn't around. Kyrie yesterday basically said, I'm out of here. Like they totally ruined everything. Anthony Davis is going to be a one-man show. Kyrie's going to be gone. Luka's going to be doing the stuff he did in LA. I mean, that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to announce the starting lineups tonight for the Warriors and the Mavericks. And the Warriors are going to get cheered. Like Steph is going to get cheered. And then they go over. And that was your Golden State Warriors head coach, Steve Kerr. And now your Dallas Mavericks. And it's like everyone's just going to be losing their mind. Like they're losing their minds. I don't know how they could be so tone deaf. They just bought the team like a year ago. They don't know anything. All right. Hopefully we made up for yesterday. I apologize. Like I said, we had to jump early, so I wanted to make sure that we got to everything. But episode 60 today, all Brock talk. Just get used to it. A lot of people I was watching on the chat, and everyone's like, "Oh, I can't get through this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk about Brock." It's just kind of what it's going to be. We all just have to kind of grin and bear it a bit. The Rodgers odds, like I told you, that's just candy. That's just odds candy to keep. It's marketing for them to stay in front of you, and we all fall for it. They would never make game odds like this, or they would be out of business. Aaron Rodgers in no way, shape, or form is coming to the 49ers, let alone plus 350. Robert Saleh would kill Kyle Shanahan. They could never fit the egos in the same room. It's only brought on because Aaron Rodgers was not taken by the 49ers in 2005. It's been 20 years. Please let it go. The Jets decided that no plan was better than a plan with Aaron Rodgers. Should I go on and on and on till the break of dawn? I mean, there's just no chance that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a 49er. And oh, by the way, at the position, Kyle Shanahan is not in like. He's not in heavy petting. He's not, maybe I'm engaged. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I won't. Oh, my God, I'm nervous. Oh, it's wedding day. I'm going to run. He loves himself some Brock Purdy, and he's getting paid. And earlier somebody said, it's not 100%. It's 100%. And I'll come on and say that I was stupid and wrong, which I often do, if that's not the case. Aaron Rodgers will not be a 49er. But they know in the betting candy world that is these stupid odds that nobody even double checks to see if these are even remotely accurate after the fact. By the way, did I mention that Aaron Rodgers was atrocious last year and would be terrible in this locker room, and they're not down with divas? Did I mention that he cannot even move? He cannot even move, let alone a contract paying him how much money? No. I'm telling you, there are so many reasons not. But, I fell for it. You didn't fall for it. I fell for it. So we got that going on. Kelsey retire. It sure sounds like it. If you go back to that piece, and I played it a little bit earlier from New Heights, it certainly sounds like Travis Kelsey is going to retire. And why not? He's probably got $20 to $25 million waiting for him in endorsements alone and deals and ESPNs and Fox Sports and all these different things that he could do and not get hit. And oh, by the way, that would afford him to travel with his girlfriend and all those kind of things and do those things. So I think he's going to retire. It certainly sounds like he's going to retire.
You know that there's a lot.
Oops, come on now.
It's going to sting. I know everybody wants to know whether or not I'm playing next year, and right now I'm just kicking everything down the road. I'm kicking every.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to retire, not based just on that, but you can go back and listen to the whole thing. It certainly sounds like he's going to, and believe me, people around here, it's like, yeah, go. I know you're not in our division. I know you're not in our conference, but go. You've done enough. Butler's 2-0. The Warriors play against the Mavs. I just played that for you again. Sports timing, the Mavs owner, sports timing. It's when you play somebody. We didn't get to Durant, but that's okay. The thing that really got me going today was when I saw Susan Slusser say, as it's ST day one, which is spring training, not STD, ST. And so it begins at Scottsdale Stadium, a cloudy Scottsdale Stadium. Alex Bregman got me off on a tangent today. You could just sign both. You already got Chapman. You could play Bregman at second, and he's exactly what Buster Posey said they wanted around here, which is a winner with a background, has won World Series, is a great influence in the clubhouse, plays hard. He's like a Matt Chapman type. It would be perfect for this team. You've got plenty of money, a 1-year make good deal with Bregman playing second base while Tyler Fitzgerald is the super U, because they're not going to upgrade at first base and right field, and they don't have a catcher who can hit. And I don't know if Ramos is first half or second half, and I don't know if Jung-Hoo Lee can play, and on for the offense. It would be really nice for a pitching staff that has tons of questions after Logan Webb if you could add some more offense, and he's just sitting out there. And if the Dodgers hadn't spent so much money and basically gotten everybody, that would be a move that they would make. Bregman, random dog show, hacked emails, sales guy. Link's story is this, really, really quick. So it's Lincoln Kennedy's birthday. He's one of my favorite people. If there was a dictionary definition of the gentle giant, that's what Lincoln Kennedy is. A massive, massive man. So 2 quick stories. When we went to London in 2014 with the Raiders, the Raiders, not we. We were on the team plane. We go with the Raiders to New England, and then you go New England because it's a much shorter trip than going from the West Coast all the way over to London. So you generally play a game there if you're from the West Coast. They get smoked by Brady and the Patriots. We get on the plane. We go to England, to London, where they get smoked by the Dolphins and Ryan Tannehill running a bunch of zone read. And Dennis Allen, now the defensive coordinator of the Bears, just got fired by the Saints, got fired by the Raiders right after the game by Mark Davis. That's how bad they were. But so we're in New England. The game gets over. We're walking with the whole team because they're taking us to this room where we're going to spend the next 2 to 3 hours. And they check us into the plane. We have some food, some drink, and then they drive us over to the airport, and we jump off on the plane later. So on that walk over from one side to the other, when we go under the stadium, all of a sudden I'm walking with Lincoln and Papa, and this guy's walking towards me, and this woman's holding 2 young children, and we're like, that's Brady. That's Tom Brady. He's walking right at us. And so we stop with Link, and Link is a massive man. And as Tom's getting closer, it's because Raiders fans will never get over this. Lincoln Kennedy starts to yell at Brady at the top of his lungs, "You know it was a fumble, Tom! You know it was a fumble! Just admit it!" Like he's playing with him and having fun because, again, Lincoln's a gentle giant. If he really admit it, Tom would be like, "Okay, it was a fumble, man. It was a fumble." I mean, Link's like 6'8", 345. I mean, a massive dude. And so they chop it up a little bit. It's funny. Giselle's standing there, and it's kind of surreal. Like, not so much Brady is. There's Giselle right there, and she's got the kids, and they laugh it up. And we walk off, and we go eat and drink and everything else. So that's one side of Lincoln. That was a really cool story, and they were being pals for that moment and everything else. But the other thing that just illustrates what a gentle giant is I did a lot of shows with Lincoln when I was at 95.7, especially when we were carrying the Raiders, and we used to do a true football hour. And you probably heard it back in the day. It was so awesome. It was Bill Romanowski and it was Rod Woodson, and those guys, they didn't care. Like, they weren't affiliated with either team. We weren't. I guess we did carry the Raiders at the time, but I mean, these guys shot from the hip. If they didn't like something, Rod and Bill, and they would get into it all the time. They almost fought one time, and it was me and Papa and Bill and Rod, and it was probably at that point, I think, the best hour of sports radio there was in the Bay. I mean, it was awesome, and I just tried to stay out of the way and keep the ball moving. So. My point in that is one week we had guys come in all the time, different guys come in all the time to jump into. And one week Link was in town. He lives in Phoenix, but Lincoln was in town, and he's like, I'll jump in with you guys. And so I'm talking and all sorts of stuff, and I see Lincoln, and we had this window. So you look in the studio, and most radio studios are like this, and we had this pretty big window, and the sun would shine through it, and it would make the studio kind of bright. And so I'm talking, and I think, and I'm kind of turned away from the window, but you've got a peripheral so you can see what's going on. And it was sunny out, and all of a sudden it's dark. And I thought, well, God, a cloud must have gone. I'm serious. I'm thinking a cloud must have gone over the sun. God, it was such a beautiful sunny day today. I didn't know that there were going to be clouds. And I turn, and it's Lincoln, and he's pressed up against the glass, like giving me this mean mug look. And I'm like, he engulfed the entire window, and it's a big window. And I start going, oh, my God, Lincoln Kennedy has literally just blocked out the sun. He is gigantic. And it's like, a guy who played at a certain weight and then got bigger after, probably it doesn't like the fact that I'm saying how gigantic he is. So after we get done with the segment, he walks in and he's like, bro, like, why you got to do me like that? And I'm like, well, no, it's just like, you're a big dude. And that's just, and like when he's playing, you like being called big guy. But then like after the fact, it's like, I don't want to be big guy. So a lot of guys like Joe Staley, famously Joe Thomas, Jordan Gross, like a lot of these big offensive linemen, Alan Faneca, they all just lost boatloads of weight, like riding. And I think with Joe, it was like the Peloton during the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, they go from like 300, 310, 320 to like 250, 240. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And Lincoln when he got out, he got bigger. And then he's gotten a lot better with it. But man, he was probably at his height of the thing because he's like 6'7", 6'8". And he's probably tipping the scales in those days, like maybe 360. I mean, the biggest man I've ever seen. And I'm not going to go back into the story that I told you because I thought at one point when I in training camp one year, I got smashed by Mark Spindler, a guy I used to work with years and years ago because he was a former football player and we were at camp and I kept talking trash to him going, dude, I could outrun you. And we got on pads and I did this dummy drill where he had to go hit every dummy, the 4 dummies, and then come around the corner. And I was supposed to be gone by then. And he smashed me into oblivion and like cracked ribs, all that kind of stuff. I think Vern Glenn might've done that locally, but I did it years ago in Detroit. And it was like, I will never question the athletic ability of these guys again. Like I don't care how old they are athletes and they were athletes for a reason, like unbelievable. So with Link, it was like, it's not like I could have got around the guy. He was just that big, but he's like, dude, you said I block out the sun. I'm like, you literally just blocked out the sun. You did. Anyway, great guy. Happy birthday to Lincoln Kennedy. Those are my Link stories, Linc at the bottom there, Link stories. I've already told you about Sales Guy. All right. Anything else? Anything we're missing? Hopefully we made up for yesterday. I apologize. We'll make sure we'll get a story of the day out today, which I didn't yesterday because I was so busy on the sales side. Finally, my wife goes, you got to make some money and you got to do some sales here. And what are you doing? And I go, I know. I just like having fun, man. I like hanging out. I like talking to my friends. And she's like, yeah, but you know what? I'd like you to make some money. I was like, all right, geez, fun. So anyway, I got to do all sorts of stuff like that. This is our good friend, John Holmes. Great show today. Go Warriors. Yeah, like I said, great time to be playing the Warriors. Thank you, John Holmes. Let me leave that up there for a minute. And I appreciate the contributions. You can always do that. Thank you so much. That is a fund for my ex-wife and my son, who, by the way, I'm going to be paying his rent where he is living in his house. And it's great that he's going to the Cape Cod League to write for the Cape Cod League this summer, which he earned, but I'll be paying that rent as well. So there's also sorts of stuff. By the way, he got another gig. I told you from the Super Bowl stuff because he was on all last week. This company called Sun Devil Source, who does all sorts of stuff at Arizona State. It's not affiliated with the school. They called him and they go, hey, dude, we dug what you did at the Super Bowl. You want to work for us and actually make money? He's like, yeah. So he's on fire lately, man. Absolutely on fire. Yeah, that was the booth. You're 100% right. Link, Papa, and Flores, they were the booth. That was the booth. And so, very cool. But again, thanks to Daniel today. Thank you so much. Light the Beam. That's probable on February 21st. And there's our good friend, John Holmes. Go Warriors. And yeah, I mean, they should be 3-0. Weird things happen, and we know in this team, when you start counting on them to do something, then they'll do the opposite. But I just know this, and I don't know what the line is on tonight's game, but if this is what the Warriors are walking into and the Mavs fans are this pissed off, there's Ron walking to his seat. I think that one kid, he's got his Lucas jersey on. Love you. That's the owner of the Mavs. That goes back to the timing. Like I talk about the timing all the time up there about the middle sports timing. After the Mavs owner says sports timing, it's a great time to be playing the Mavericks. Couldn't be a better time playing the Mavericks. So anyway, all right. What else do I have? I'm lucky to have a wife, period. But yeah, no, she's great, man. She is very supportive. She is awesome. She's the best. I'm spending an inordinate amount of time in this studio doing all sorts of stuff all day long. And she's just like, yeah, you got to do what you got to do to get that thing off the ground. So it's very cool. But I say this all the time, and I couldn't mean it more. It's nothing without you guys because we have a great community. It's a lot of fun. If you're new around here, a lot of cool people in here. You don't have to agree. We go back and forth, and we treat sports the way it's supposed to be treated, which, yeah, we're passionate about it, but it's not everything. We try to have fun with it. So unless I'm mad about spring training and Alex Bregman or about people putting up dumb Vegas lines, which really aren't Vegas lines, they're candy and crack, for Aaron Rodgers coming to the Niners, which we all know from the many reasons that I have mentioned is not going to happen. So there you go. All right, we will be better tomorrow on the Thursday edition of the show. We have guests coming tomorrow, so you won't hear me just yip-yapping the whole time, which I know Everyone wants to do that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure, as always, that you have subscribed to the channel, John Lund Unleashed. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and have those alerts on so that we'll hit you up. So we'll do other stuff. We'll do a story of the day. I'll post one of those. I'll post some shorts. I'll make sure that they're for the Lund loyalists. I do have some of those emails, by the way. I did not lose those. So today, as part of my process that I have, I'll resend out a bunch of emails to everybody for the Lund loyalists. And again, hit me back as soon as you can, because we want to get a chat together with the people who are Lund loyalists. We can fit you all on the screen at once and actually have a proper chat and all of us talk back and forth. So as soon as I get that, we'll have that and hats and all that kind of stuff. So we'll do that as well. So thank you so much for being a Lund loyalist. Thanks for being a subscriber. Thanks for watching on X and Instagram at John Lund Radio. That's where that is. And please make sure you check out the website, which we update all the time. We have a new blog, a new story of the day every day, new videos, new podcasts, all that kind of stuff. JohnLundUnleashed.com. JohnLundUnleashed.com for everything unleashed. All right. Thank you for hanging out. As always, Wednesday edition of the program. I'll see you for the Thursday edition of the program. Everybody have a tremendous Wednesday. And despite my rant and anger, not anger, whatever I want to call it, less than anger for the Giants, it is pitchers and catching reporting. So it is a day of celebration. Everybody have a great Wednesday. We will talk to you tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at JohnLundUnleashed.com. JohnLundUnleashed.com.
Goodbye!